going to be a much different type of show today than we were doing yesterday. I mean, we had just signed off the air yesterday. At that point in time, we were laughing and joking around, right? I mean, we got off the air, I think, around 1:50 because of the length of the way the commercial breaks were set up. So we got off the air a little early yesterday. It was 1:50. At that point, we're joking about Travis Kelce and all the fun that was coming from the parade. And then how quickly the day shifted for all of us forever in Kansas City to one of the worst days in KC history with the tragedy down at Union Station. And so today throughout the show, we're going to open up the phone lines at some point today a little bit, 913-586-7610, and talk this one out as a city, as a show. Obviously, Cody and I have a lot of thoughts on how we saw the day go and the time from when we got off the air to when obviously the tragedy occurred, and we were 7 to 10 minute walk away from Union Station. So we fortunately were not down in that particular area, but just how we saw it. We'll also have a press conference we're going to carry live. The Kansas City Police Department just announced they're going to have another media availability at 10:30. So we will carry that live. We're not sure what kind of update we're going to get, whether it's about any sort of conditions of victims or it's going to be about the suspects, more information on information that they're seeking. We know they're continuing to ask people for video if they were nearby the area of the shooting and all that, but we will carry that live at 10:30.
Yeah, it was not an easy day after the show. We were fortunate, I guess, to be further enough away to do it, but it is a very jarring moment to have that many people text you to ask you if you're okay. I hadn't gone through that, and then I had realized that there were people I had to text to make sure that they were okay, because in a moment like that, there's a lot of people you know who are at events like that. The people who had already asked you what part of the parade you're at, coworkers, colleagues, as well, and then like a lot of people who I knew who were right there. A shocking number of people who I knew were right there. People who worked in this building, friends over long periods of time, and friends who I've made over the last couple of years who were hundreds of, 100 feet less from the incidents that took place. And so, yeah, it makes for a very unfun show today, because normally this isn't the type of show we like to do for a variety of reasons, and unfortunately have to continue to address the actions of people down at Union Station that ruined an otherwise, what seemed like was going to be a great day for the city.
And it was prior to that. I mean, you and I, when we got on the air at 10 o'clock yesterday, we're on 20th and Grand. It's a gorgeous day at the time in Kansas City. I mean, honestly, like perfect weather. That's what we were talking about. It's great. And kids, you and I were joking, kids were throwing footballs up to the fourth floor of the condominiums across the street, and like people are cheering on the guy in the balcony. And so you think about that, and to then fast forward to around 2 o'clock or so, 1:55 roughly in the afternoon, to people fearing for their lives, literally running for their lives. And we all know at this point, 22 gunshot victims, 9 of which are children. And police have confirmed one individual has died. We know there's at least some reports out there that another individual has, and we'll see if we get, again, at 10:30, an update on the condition of victims that were part of this incident. But you're right. I mean, the amount of people that were there yesterday that simply were there to have a celebration, something people have been looking forward to, something that we've gotten used to in Kansas City over the last couple of years, and to now have yet another scene, another event that we all want to go to, and then just to have fun with your friends and your family, and have another place where an act like this can occur. Just add it to the list. It's another place that it occurs, and you can't live in fear. But I think, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, Cody, you have to wonder, what does this mean going forward for other events like this?
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, they could, and I know we'll talk about, like, if this changes how they handle parades, but, I mean, at this point, this is a uniquely American problem in which no real place is safe, and I have to just, I guess, blindly accept that, which I don't want to. I would prefer things to be different and for change to occur relative to that, rather than just accept the fact, or I guess I'm supposed to, that literally anywhere I go in this world, I could be near or at a mass shooting. That's insane. Now, look, I've been fortunate enough. I'd made it 39 years of my life without being all that close to one. Very few people, probably in America, are given that luxury anymore to have said that. Now, very few people in this city have that luxury to say that, because there were 1 million people down there who were within a few square blocks of what took place yesterday. No, it honestly, even more so than the somber stuff, which I certainly felt last night and will continue to feel moving forward. There's almost no doubt about it. The people who are injured, the people who are traumatized, friends of mine who are traumatized by this and will be forever. More than any of that, I'm just mad. I'm just mad all night, mad all morning, because of those actions forcing me into just being like, well, I guess I just can't go anywhere. Oh, can't go to a baseball game, might be 30,000 people. Certainly couldn't go to a parade. There's 1 million people, even more people, who could make bad decisions like this. And not bad decisions, really life-altering, changing decisions for literally hundreds of thousands, millions of people. I'm more mad than anything yesterday as a result of what had taken place because it once again took away the safety. And then I'm just like thankful I didn't take my kids that day. It was a debate that my wife and I were having, like, and not because of that. I'm sure that'll be part of the conversation going forward, but because, it's hard. They're little, maintaining them in a large crowd, and those things can be a challenge. A lot of other people weren't fortunate enough for that. Their kids are going to be traumatized forever as a result of the actions that took place last night. And I don't know what'll happen at 10:30. Obviously, we'll get more and more information as time go on. I don't care why they did it. I'm just mad that they did.
Sure. I think there is a lot of anger in the city yesterday and today. And yeah, the grief aspect, and I think you're correct in mentioning that even those that weren't directly impacted by being one of the victims of gunshot wounds, there is an impact that anybody that was there at that time, and certainly if you're talking about children, that everybody has to be cognizant of. I think it's important. We've mentioned on the show, I think we do it every Friday, right? Our Red Fridays during the season are sponsored by 988, right? And 24/7 mental health support. I think that's very important. I know the city has put out some information on that. I think it's very important today and in the days going forward that people recognize resources that are out there. Today, as we said, obviously today's show is going to be way different than any other show we've done, and I hope you guys understand that for obvious reasons. And with that, we will have an opportunity for people to call in the show later today too, to just give their thoughts, whether you were there or not. Because even if you weren't there, it's impacting you in some form or fashion. Whether it's, as Cody said, somebody that was there. When you're talking about 1 million people, you probably knew somebody. But even if you were not there, the reaction to that, and to see our city that we were just talking yesterday, as so many of us have been thinking the last 6 months in particular, the pride and the heater that this city has been on a global scale, and what that means to all of us that grew up here in Kansas City. And it's not just sports, but a lot of it has been because of sports and the Chiefs putting this city on the map with multiple championships. Obviously, what happened last year with the NFL draft and the new airport and the KC Current Stadium, all these different things, and why this city is headed in a great direction. But to have something like that happen, just is so frustrating and sickening. And there's a long-term impact that we're all going to have because of this. So I'll mention the numbers just because I think it's important. And the city put out this information. 988, it's a 24/7 in crisis lifeline. There's also youth violence prevention support lines out there, and something called Y Chat, which is 24/7 text, call, and chat. And you can dial that up at 816-799-1720 as well. And I think all those resources are important for people to recognize here in the city.
It's unfortunate. Kansas City obviously is a tremendous city. I stand by the things that we had talked about on this air and where the direction of the city has gone over the last decade and how great it is, obviously, that Kansas Cityans are particularly good at coming together and supporting each other in what is an incredibly difficult time for the city. I'm never going to look at another championship parade for any team the same ever again. Ever. I'm going to see that sea of people, no matter what city it's in, and assume or hope that nothing bad is going to happen. I hope everything's okay. Because when you do it that way, and when you immediately are going to jump to this, and this will be something that people will remember about Kansas City for nearly as good of a job about homicide rates and violent crime and the issues they've had over the last few years, now only highlighted further. Hell, I worked at KCPT 10 years ago and worked on a gun violence segment for Nick Haynes and KCPT a decade ago. in which a different mayor and a different grouping of people were all talking about how they were going to solve that problem in Kansas City. It hadn't gotten better. So, I mean, in a situation we were before, and now this just highlights that problem again. And it's frustrating that we have to keep wondering whether or not these problems are going to be solved. Like, and this is just like, obviously, this is the means to the end. This is like the thing that highlights it the worst in the worst possible way. But yeah, it's just terrifying to think that we continue to have these problems.
Yeah, coming up in about 20 minutes, we'll hear from the Kansas City Police Department. They're going to hold another press conference, perhaps some new details or at least continued information on yesterday's events down at Union Station. And yeah, I think there's I've seen it a lot already from the text line, and at some point we'll take some calls on it too, Cody, but just the balance of, I mean, you can speak to it on a different way than I can having children. And you mentioned the dynamic of talking about whether or not you feel it's safe to take kids to certain events and things like that. I think that's probably a conversation that multiple people listening have had, whether between their spouse or maybe even with their kids directly. I don't know, about events like you can't live in fear, right? We've talked about it too. Like you can't live in fear. At the same time, you have to be cognizant, though, of the fact that truly it can happen anywhere. And we're going to find out more details as time goes on about it. There's plenty of speculation out there on, what actually was occurring. Was it a dispute? And just
there's not enough information yet to tell you.
No regard for human life around them. That's what it appears to be like versus perhaps some of the other situations that have happened across this country. Who knows? We're going to get more details in the days and weeks probably ahead. But to have out of the 800,000 million people that were there, we know the hundreds of thousands of children that were there as well, and to happen at an event like this, you question the future of these, and I think it's a fair one. I've done a couple radio interviews in other cities today and last night, and I'm sure as you have as well. And one of the questions everybody has asked is like, "Hey, do you think that you can have parades set up the same way?" I don't have the answer to that. I think it's something we can all talk out together, though, because we all know that it's not possible. Necessarily with law enforcement, et cetera, to prevent. I mean, clearly, they were prepared. They had 800 law enforcement. This is not like the city wasn't ready for it. They had 800 law enforcement officers. They had snipers on the building. We've seen this in other parades as well.
You'll never see more security than
the law enforcement reacted within seconds. I mean, they ran towards harm's way within seconds to try to stop this, and you still had 22 individuals that suffered gunshot wounds, and at least one person that has lost their life because of this. So I don't know what the solution. Can you have a parade in that setting in the future? I'm not trying to, again, as I said, I'm not trying to make people fearful. I'm truly just trying to talk this out. And what does it look like? I'll tell you this: we know when we go to an airport and we go through TSA, we take our shoes off unless you're on pre-check. But you take your shoes off. Why? Because at one point in time, somebody tried to put a bomb in their shoe, right? That's why it exists. It wasn't like anything. They
make you take your shoes off because something happened with shoes,
right? I mean, sure. Even on an airplane, like the cockpit door, the way it's sealed down and all that was not always that way. That changed after 9/11. Unfortunately, it takes horrific incidents. Is this an incident that causes parades to be different? I hope not, right? Because it's supposed to be a joyful day in our city, and it obviously ended up not being that. And we've seen other parades all across this country. And look, I'll be honest, based on what the Chiefs are, guys, we're probably going to have some other parades or at least championship celebrations over the next decade because the Chiefs are the best team in football. But looking forward, is it something that has to be at Arrowhead where you're actually going through metal detectors like you do for a regular game? Is it something that's going to only hold 70,000 people? I at an event like that to prevent this?
My guess is that they'll add security measures. I mean, again, this is one of the most highly secured areas ever. There are players more exposed to fans than ever, right? I mean, Patrick Mahomes just like walks up and down Grand, or any of the other guys that are available to just cruise along and be available to, Tommy Townsend can take a beer from a fan.
Parts of these parades.
Of course it is. That's what people like about it. But no, I assume that there will be more safety measures in place. Control every variable, and they can, choose how to proceed with how to keep people out. And that would be like, I'm sorry, only 70,000 people get to see the championship parade, and you register for a lottery, for a ticket, for a chance to go down on the field and hear these people talk, and it all works a little bit different. But I mean, the idea that, like, maybe we should just, like, I hate the idea that we have to take away the fun thing because other people can't handle the thing that they should be able to take care of in their own lives. The things that we should be able to control through a variety of means. Feels like I should be worried about that part of it and not, let's take away the fun thing. What if we made that thing more simple? That doesn't make any sense. I don't want it to come to that. Would I be surprised if going into Union Station like the NFL draft, you had to enter through security gates in order to even be present in that area? At the very least, I assume maybe that would go down. But this is a lot of people. 1 million people is a lot of people to try to get through security measures in order to get where they're going. I don't know how they could fundamentally do it without just changing the way championship parades have been, forever? I mean, this is how they are in every city, by the way. This isn't just Kansas City. I don't know how you change it without completely fundamentally changing the system. And that would be a terrible thing to take away because of these awful people who decided to do this at a parade.
Again, I'm not advocating for them to not. I'm just putting the question out there. I've been asked that question by numerous people, and that's what I've said. Like today, we're just talking everything out. I'm not claiming to have all the answers. Cody's not claiming to have all the answers, and we'll open up the phone lines at some point today, probably after that press conference. I see some of you calling in, and I appreciate it. 913-586-7610. It's going to be a little bit, though. It's probably going to be after 10:30 because we're going to have a press conference to air on the show, and then we'll go from there. But, yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to do something in the same fashion that we've seen. What adjustments? The exact same scenario, security setup where, again, they were so prepared, and it still didn't matter. That's like you act like, how are you feeling today? That's what is so sickening and frustrating about, as you said, and maddening. Is not only are we talking about children that were shot, guys, at this event, and one person at least lost their life, but the fact that police department and law enforcement did an incredible job yesterday, and it didn't.
It's too many. It's a lot of people, man. And that's certainly part of it. But yeah, it's very frustrating. I understand. And again, this is why we do want to take your calls later. We'd like your accounts of what you saw, how it was from your end. Again, Gold and I were at 20th and Grand, so we're several blocks away from the incident. I had packed up and left quickly because I was going to go pick up my kids from school. So I had just gotten out of the place we were at, Gold. They got locked down minutes, maybe, after I left, where you guys were shut inside and told to shelter in place, at least during that stage. Yeah. I was walking to the car, and the first I had heard, so all the police, the burning down the street. And my initial thought, you and I had seen a couple while we were wrapping up. My initial thought was, oh, you know what? It's blocked off, so maybe they kind of zoomed down the street to go help on the other end, right? Everyone's down at Union Station now. Some of the police officers have to go, maybe they're helping with police escort or whatever. I just thought maybe a few people had to go down. Then when I was walking to the car, a lot of police cars, maybe 30 or 40, were all screaming down the street together. And I was like, boy, that's weird. Took a video, continue walking to the car. And the first text I got was from a friend of mine who was down at Union Station who had said, hey, there's a shooting. Do you know what's going on? And they were asking me because they were trying to find out more information about how scared they should be. Like, how worried should I be about what it is that they're telling us is taking place? I don't have any of the answers because I didn't even realize it was happening yet. Your phone's in your pocket, you're walking to your car, you haven't heard anything, Gold. Nobody's told me because I had left the hotel in time. And now all of a sudden, you're frantically searching for what exactly is occurring down there and who might be down there that you know. It's a terrible feeling. And your situation, we were minutes apart probably.
Yeah, the only reason why you and I didn't leave at the same time, frankly, is we were packing up. I mean, just because at that point you're celebrating. There were people hanging out in the hotel. They had some food and stuff. And so this was going to sit in there before I walked eventually to go get an Uber. And at that point in time, the bar area at Hotel Indigo, everybody started to gather around the television because at that point the TV crews had started to honestly, figure out what was going on to a certain extent, that there was at that point an active shooter situation. And so it was dead quiet in the hotel bar, and everybody's surrounding these TVs. And at that point, there was already a police officer that was near Hotel Indigo the whole day anyway. Video and listened to Carrington or our sister station KMBZ at the time. That's how we saw it. And I appreciate, again, anybody that did reach out to us, both that live here in town and even some of our former coworkers that aren't even in town anymore. Henry Lake texted me, as I know he did others at this station as well, who now works up in Minneapolis. And so many people and colleagues in Denver and other markets reached out because it's something that, unfortunately, as you said, unfortunately, this is something a lot of people can relate to. The Denver Nuggets had a shooting after their championship. Now, it wasn't their parade. It was that night of the championship. There's been situations like this everywhere. And I think it's fair, to point out too. It's not this is getting highlighted because it occurred at a parade, right? It occurred at an event in a day in which the city was celebrating.
Correct.
But unfortunately,
and then players were nearby, and coaches were nearby, and millions of people were nearby. Yeah.
But this type of violence occurs on a daily basis in cities around the country, and frankly, I know we love Kansas City, but it is reality in Kansas City as well. This happens on a daily basis in Kansas City.
Yeah, the homicide rates are really high in the city, unfortunately, and in most major cities. This is not an uncommon occurrence, but it's not hard for it to be highlighted on international news when it takes place at a championship parade. Again, the day up until that moment, Gold was perfect. The weather was perfect. Everyone was celebrating. Everyone was having a great time. It seemingly was an innocuous day in which everybody was just enjoying the best time of their lives, celebrating the dynasty, all the stuff that you would expect out of a championship parade for a team that had won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, only to be marred by this incident. It will be impossible. Chiefs could win the Super Bowl next year, and you and I could be in the exact same location. It will be impossible not to talk about and think about what took place
to anybody, and anybody thinks about Super Bowl 58 5 years from now, 20 years from now, whatever, the rest of your life. Unfortunately, this will be one aspect of it, and reality of what occurred. It's also reality of what is occurring in Kansas City and cities across the country. All right, coming up next, we are expecting another media availability from the Kansas City Police Department. We will carry that live right here on 610 Sports Radio.
Cody and Gold. Watch the show on YouTube by subscribing to the @610 Sports KC channel. 610 Sports Radio.
We'll buy your car for its original base MSRP when you upgrade to a new or used car at Volkswagen Lease Summit. Only deducting for mileage, manufacturer incentives, and any damage. Your car is worth thousands more than you think. Cash in today. Visit VWLeaseSummit.com.
2012 and newer. See dealer for details.
When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a click away. Order online and pick up at your local store. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, OFAC experts, so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Around here at Wrangler, we are all excited for spring. The longer days, the warmer nights. When you've got your pick of shorts and jeans, either works just fine. Blue skies, open roads. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
Sick and tired of achy joints? Dread the idea of surgery? You need to call QC Kinetics today. Hey, it's Bob Fesco. The state of healthcare is always changing. The old ideas like steroids and surgery are no longer your only options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative, non-surgical, drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. If you have any sort of joint pain, call QC Kinetics today. Their advanced state-of-the-art treatments harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. This is a revolutionary approach that can get you long-term relief with no downtime. Make 2024 the year you reclaim your mobility, reclaim your independence. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics off 435 in State Line and in Gladstone. 816-412-6299.
Advent Health welcomes the KC Golf Show February 23rd through the 25th at the Overland Park Convention Center. See Tom Watson with Watson Links. Register today for a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets on 610 Sports Radio's contest page.
Some people just know there's a better way to do things, like bundling your home and auto insurance with Allstate, or hiring someone to move your piano instead of doing it yourself. So, do things the better way. Bundle home and auto and save up to 25% with Allstate.
Bundled savings vary by state and are not available in every state. Saving up to 25% is the countrywide average of the maximum available savings off the home policy. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I gotta change the oil in my car.
Right now, get 5 quarts of Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic with an STP Extended Life Oil Filter for only $36.99.
Get in zone.
What do I do with my old oil?
We can recycle your used oil for free.
Get in zone.
And do you have oil for my old work truck?
You can find the right high mileage oil to help it go farther right here at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo does not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Hey, Rob Bradford here. I have set out on a mission with my good friends at FanDuel to prove what I have known for some time. Baseball isn't boring. Now I have a daily podcast to prove it with some of the most notable people in the baseball world, screaming baseball isn't boring from the mountaintops, or at least agreeing to come on our show. Players, managers, GMs, and yes, even the commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred. It has been a constant wave of baseball's most powerful voices. So join the revolution. Subscribe and soak in Baseball Isn't Boring. Listen on your Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast. You'll be glad you did.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Sponsored by Robert Half.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Our recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Back here, Cody and Gold on a Thursday. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp. We got Q producing the show today. Drew will be back with us tomorrow. We are awaiting the start of another press conference, media availability from the Kansas City Police Department. As soon as that begins, we will go out to downtown KC for that. Perhaps an update on this shooting from a suspect standpoint, if not on the end of the victims as well. We will see. We're not sure exactly what information we're going to get, but we will carry that live here on 610 Sports Radio. While we're awaiting the start of that press conference here, the day after the tragedy around Union Station with 22 victims, there were some stories that came out of heroes and those Chiefs players as well that were still in Union Station or still just left the stage or leaving the stage. I mean, this thing happened so quickly after they had wrapped up the rally at Union Station. Trey Smith, Chiefs offensive lineman, was on Good Morning America today, and there were some reports about Chiefs players comforting kids that were terrified and scared for their lives. And listen to what Trey Smith had to say this morning at Good Morning America. He gave the story of what he did in that moment.
Just remember those security guards just ushering us through the doors quickly, just saying, come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. It's okay, this is not a joke, it's a life or death situation.
Smith forced to run for his life, finding shelter in a closet, guiding as many people as he could to safety.
Right before I run in there was like a little kid in front of me, so I just grab him and just yank him and just tell him, you're hopping in here with me, buddy. So I don't know how many people there were in the closet, maybe 20 plus. One of my teammates, my long snapper, James Winchester, was very instrumental in helping keep people calm. We end up getting the green light to be able to get out of there. We end up walking to the buses.
The Chiefs team buses is soon filled with frightened bystanders trying to escape the madness outside.
This little boy was with his father. He's just a little hysterical. He just panicked. He's scared. He doesn't know what's going on. And I had the WWE belt on me the entire parade, and I was, man, what can I do to help him out? I just handed him the belt. Hey, buddy, you're the champion. No one's gonna hurt you anywhere. No one's gonna hurt you, man. We got your back. We just start talking about wrestling. Who's your favorite wrestler? What was your favorite wrestling match? And just little things like that, just to take his mind off of it. He was looking out the window and he was seeing people, just reacting away. They were trying to get out of that situation. So I'm like, here you go, buddy. This is yours. Man, like. So again, no one's going to hurt you when you're here with us. We're going to protect you, buddy. You're going to be okay. You're going to be all right.
Smith is still in shock that a day of joy could turn so violent.
I'm pretty angry because it's senseless violence. Someone lost their life today. You have children that are injured. You have children that are traumatized. I'm hurting for, the families and the people who got impacted, the city of Kansas City.
So that was Good Morning America. Trey Smith on Good Morning America today giving his account of what happened, and to hear multiple Chiefs players step up in that moment, and we sometimes forget, like they're superstar athletes and all that, but we are all Kansas Cityans, we're all humans, we all react and try to hopefully comfort those in these horrific circumstances that none of us could ever really fathom until you're in that moment. And to hear that Andy Reid comforted a teenager who was looking for his friends, who was terrified, and his fatherly or grandfatherly instincts, I guess, take over as well. At that age,
probably grandfather.
Grandfather instincts take over. But that was pretty incredible to hear Trey Smith talk about how he basically just grabbed this kid's like, no, you're coming with me. I'm protecting you. I mean, my goodness.
I mean, that's the right kind of guy to have protect you, Trey Smith. There's no doubt. But no, those were the, obviously there's always rewarding stories to come out of times of tragedy. Trey Smith and Andy Reid and him talking about James Winchester, Trey Smith, and others are certainly a huge part of that.
We'll get back to this, but let's head downtown and hear from the Kansas City Police Department.
We're here to give an update on both the investigation, victim information, to the extent we have available now, and the ongoing work being done in Kansas City in response to yesterday's shooting incident. Our condolences continue to go out to all those who have been impacted, including the decedent. You will have more information on that in our conversation that comes up shortly. A few things to note, and the chief will cover a bit later. If you have questions about property or other information relating to belongings that were left at Union Station, please call the city's 311 information line. Please do not call the police department's line in connection with that information. The other thing that we wanted to note were mental health resources for anyone who feels concerns from yesterday's events. Please call 988, and that's how we can connect you with services. We also will be making victim advocacy services available following this crisis. With that, we'll come back for questions after the police chief and the fire chief speak. With that, I'll turn it over to Police Chief Stacey Graves.
Police Chief Stacey Graves. As you know, yesterday we experienced a tragic event during a time that was meant for celebration. The law enforcement response was exemplary. Those in attendance also responded. They helped one another. and even physically stopped a person who was believed to be involved in the incident. I want to thank the people who acted bravely yesterday alongside law enforcement, to include the Kansas City Fire Department. Your selfless act did not go unnoticed. Thank you, Kansas City. I'm angered by what occurred in our city yesterday, but I am also thankful for the response. Members of the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, the Kansas City Fire Department, city officials, federal partners, and many others have worked around the clock investigating this incident. All of their hard work and dedication has allowed me the opportunity to provide you this update today. I want to thank the Attorney General, the Governor, the Mayor, and numerous other elected officials, as well as numerous chiefs of police for reaching out to me directly, offering support, assistance, to include federal resources to assist in this investigation. First and foremost, I want to stress that preliminary investigative findings have shown there was no nexus to terrorism or homegrown violent extremism. This appeared to be a dispute between several people that ended in gunfire. During the overnight hours, we learned there are 23 victims of yesterday's shooting. One of our victims, Elizabeth Galvin, 43 years old, died. We are still learning about her, but know that she is beloved by many. To her friends and family, we are with you, and we are working tirelessly to investigate her murder. The 22 victims' age ranged between 8 years old and 47 years old. At least half of our victims are under the age of 16. As mentioned yesterday, we have subjects detained, 2 of which are juveniles. We are working to determine the involvement of others. And it should be noted, we have recovered several firearms. This incident is still a very active investigation. We ask anyone in the vicinity of the shooting that directly witnessed the shooting incident, has any video of the shooting incident, or is a victim of the shooting who has not yet reported to police, please call this dedicated line, 816-413-3477. I know there are many more questions that you all want answers to that I may not have answered just yet. It's critical that we protect the integrity of this case so that we can bring justice to the victims, their families, and everyone else involved. It should also be noted we are also working closely with our Jackson County Prosecutor's Office.
Chief, not yet.
We're going to pass this on to Chief Grundison from the Fire Department.
Good morning. I'm Fire Chief Ross Grundison. Yesterday, Kansas City units, along with our mutual aid partners, treated a total of 22 victims of the shooting incident. We had 1 fatality that was on scene, 8 critical, 7 serious, and 6 patients with minor injuries. All the critical patients were transported off the scene within 10 minutes of our point of contact with them. We transported to Children's Mercy, University Health, and St. Luke's on the Plaza. KCFD had a plan in place, and we were ready to respond to an incident like this. At the time of the shooting, we had approximately 8 personnel from KCFD and KC Medical who were assisting us in the immediate area. Some of those members were within 40 feet of where the shooting took place. These members did not run for cover, but stayed on scene to treat and triage the injured while additional KCFD units ran to their assistance. I am very grateful and proud of the service of these crews that worked this terrible incident. They gave their all yesterday, like they do every day in this city, and again, put the public's lives above their own, and we are grateful for that. I also want to say thanks to all the mutual aid partners that we worked with on this incident. Very grateful for their assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Chief, I wanted to ask you about a comment you made yesterday, because you said this is not Kansas City. And you just mentioned that this was an argument, apparently, that escalated. We had a similar situation just happened right around the corner at Crown Center less than a month ago. Last year, we set a record for homicides in this community with 182. So isn't gun violence, in fact, very much a part of what we face here in Kansas City routinely?
We do face gun violence here in Kansas City. But my note of this is not Kansas City is in we had likely 1 million people down in and around this celebration. To have the ability to have that many people in our downtown area with I don't want to minimize this event, but that's Kansas City. That is 1 million people that are able to come together for a celebration. Again, you have just a handful, or I don't have a specific number of actors in this that perpetrated the violence that played out.
Do you have arrests? Because my understanding, you can only hold these folks for so long before you have to charge them. Have you charged them yet?
We have not charged them yet. This is still under investigation. We do have 24 hours until we have to either file charges or release them.
So and
again, we are working closely with the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office to present the most successful case for prosecution.
Is there issues with linking them to the actual shooting? Do you have enough evidence at this point to make the arrest?
So some of those questions I'm not able to give a direct answer just because I want to protect the integrity of this investigation. My focus right now and what is most important to us is to make sure that everything in this case is presented for successful prosecution. So some of those questions, I'm hesitant to.
I think the answer is she's not.
Wait, hold on a second, Mr. Mayor. It seems like we are so many hours from the shooting, and at this point, they're not announcing an arrest. And I just don't understand.
We have subjects that are detained, like I said earlier. That is under investigation. We have detectives that have worked overnight and through the night that are still upstairs right now working with our Jackson County Prosecutor's Office for the furtherance of this investigation.
I have enough.
That we have all intentions of presenting charges.
Okay, I understand. The other thing I wanted to ask you about the individuals. Were they part of a gang? Was this some kind of gang crew situation?
The relationship between the subjects involved, that's still under investigation.
Can you tell us? Go ahead to the lady. Please. You're good. Go.
For the 3 suspects or the 3 people you currently have in custody, were they known to Kansas City Police prior to this, or any federal law enforcement or other law enforcement agencies?
That is also under investigation.
Chief, can you elaborate locations where there was more than one location where the shootings took place, correct? Can you tell us that?
Initial reports were that there was more than one location. It really is. That's not the case. It was mostly on the west side of Union Station. I had another question.
You made it sound like you're not sure at this point how many people may have been involved. Does that mean there are potentially more shooters out in the open right now?
What that is, if I could clarify that, is that we are not closing the door and giving direct numbers on this. This is still an active investigation. We are still asking the public that if anyone witnessed the shooting directly, to still contact police. We want to make sure that anyone that was responsible for yesterday is brought to justice.
Chief, can you elaborate? Could you tell us again the name of the victim?
Elizabeth Galvin.
And how old is she?
43.
43 years old. Okay. And what exact time did the shooting was? When was that reported, and where exactly did it happen?
It was approximately, I believe, maybe 1:50 p.m. I'm not completely sure on exactly when the shots were fired, but it was at the conclusion of the celebration rally. Yes, sir.
Chief, can you elaborate at all on the firearms that were recovered on the scene?
Right now, I am not going to elaborate on that just yet. There were several firearms that were recovered.
Mr. Mayor, would minors have been able to legally hold on to
just
those
a second.
weapons?
What was your question?
Is the ATF helping you?
We have engaged our federal partners. Kansas City, Missouri Police Department has a great relationship with our federal partners. We have historically, and they have offered all of their assistance to whatever we need in this.
Would minors have been able to legally possess these weapons if they were legally obtained somehow? Would a minor be able to have that weapon in public?
Minors should not be in possession of
For
weapons.
them to have them in public?
Was one of the weapons, sir, this morning, I was watching the local news. You were talking about a high-powered weapon and juveniles. People shouldn't have. Is that something that was a high-powered weapon used in this incident?
I think the chief explained right now there's still an investigation as to the firearms. Firearms have been retrieved, and then we'll learn more about it. To the extent that I was speaking towards it, it was from listening to sounds of gunfire, both in person and certainly in connection with what I have since seen in video as well. But we'll have all that information as soon as possible. That's being investigated with the firearms.
If there was a long gun,
One second, go ahead.
I know you haven't said so, but there have been some pictures shown of like an AR or something to that effect. If there's a long weapon, wouldn't that be something that you have hundreds of police officers there? Wouldn't that be something they would potentially be able to spot before it's even used?
I think our police officers did an outstanding job yesterday. I'm not here to second guess any part of that work. I know that we will review this situation like we do any other incident to make sure that we can keep the people of Kansas City safe at future times.
Yes? A question about the victims that were hospitalized. Do we have an update on how many were discharged, specifically the 9 gunshot wound victims that were children?
Yeah.
I don't have
We don't have the updates on the conditions of the children that were hospitalized.
Chief, were there additional shootings that happened near or around the rally?
I didn't hear you.
Were there any additional shootings that took place before or around the rally point?
Yesterday it was mentioned that there was a shooting in and around 27th and Gillum, that area. And we were also asked if that had anything to do with this shooting. Right now we don't have any information that those are related, but that's under investigation.
Was there a consideration of having metal detectors?
Understood.
Chief Mayor,
would you do another parade next year if the Chiefs win?
I'll just do the parade point and then what we do.
that again if the Chiefs win? Would you hold another parade? Because I've talked to people that said they wouldn't come
Here's
back.
the thing. We have a plan for a St. Patrick's Day parade in Kansas City. We have parades all the time. I don't think they'll end. Certainly we recognize the public safety challenges at issue that relate to them. This is why we have detectives right now who are doing important work to make sure that people who committed these offenses are brought to justice. We will learn about the types of firearms that are used, and we'll do everything that we can, both as a city and working with our state and federal partners, to see that we can help avoid these types of situations. Unfortunately, this is not the first shooting at a parade in our country or a rally. That is certainly a tragic incident for us, because we don't have experience with them. You asked the chief at the outset, is this Kansas City? Well, we've had parades like this before. We had one last year without this type of incident. We had a Kansas City Royals victory parade where we had almost no arrests in 2015. So I don't think in any way that this is Kansas City. I do think that there is a gun violence challenge in this community and many others, and there certainly is a gun violence challenge as it relates to major events. That, however, does not mean that Kansas City will stop having major events. We will do all we can to make sure people are safe. And that's why I think you're seeing so many people at KCPD and the Kansas City Fire Department doing work to address that. Thank you all so much.
All right, that was Mayor Quentin Lucas along with Stacey Graves, the police chief of Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, and the chief of the Kansas City Fire Department, Ross Grunderson, there with an update. Let's start with just the update on the victims, and we can go from there. Just to recap a little bit, the police chief said that the dispute appeared to be a dispute, the shooting between several parties that ended in gunfire, with now 23 victims. It was 22. That's the updated number. 23 total being injured in the process. The victims aged between 8 and 47. Half of the victims under the age of 17. 3 suspects. None have been charged yet, although they said they expect to do that. They
have 24 hours to do that.
And 2 of the 3 were juveniles. That's the latest information that we received, and confirmation on, unfortunately, the one victim that is deceased.
Yeah, the DJ over at KKFI, obviously you've seen those reports. There were some conflicting reports there for a while between 1 or 2 victims. The police department still obviously just saying 1. The 24 hours starts the second that they obviously booked them, so they've probably got till a little bit later this afternoon to either make official charges or release the suspects they have in place. It's important to note that they are still looking for anybody who may have witnessed what took place or was down there. Those numbers are up at the KC Police Twitter account, or you can find them at every local news source, at least as it sits right now. So it's important to note that at least they are still trying to take in any information they could possibly take in on this moment. At the end there, Mayor Lucas got asked about the very thing we discussed to open the show, which is, does this mean the end of championship parades in Kansas City, or do they look different? He certainly doesn't seem to think so. You know, he had mentioned the fact that in a couple of weeks we'll have a St. Patrick's Day parade, that multiple parades take place in this city every year. But I would say that the difference in size between the St. Patrick's Day in a few weeks and what we just saw in a crowd for the Chiefs one is quite a bit different. I still think that there could be some change to how that looks going forward, but I'm not surprised somebody's asking that question, Gold. You and I asked that question of ourselves.
Well, it's something that is worth the conversation. Nobody's saying to get rid of parades. Nobody's saying do that. But what can you operate in the same way going forward? And the mayor was quick to point out that in 2015 and in 2022 and in 2020 they had parades.
Yeah.
With obviously no
keep
incidents.
people from wanting to go.
Well, I mean, look,
we've
seen some texts, and we'll open up the phone line in the 11 o'clock hour, 913-586-7610. We are going to have Damon Hughes join us here in about 9 minutes or so. He, of course, was there, part of the parade, part of the Chiefs Radio Network, a former Chief. He was there. Want to get his perspective from being on the scene around Union Station. And we're all Kansas Cityans. We all reacted to this and handle it in different ways, but we all have emotional reaction to what occurred in our city yesterday. But I think the conversation around what adjustments can be made going forward in parades and what can you do to make it safer is obviously something that people are going to have over the next months and years ahead. And there's a very good chance that they could have a parade next year. I mean, we talk on the sports side of it. I mean, this is a team that's likely to win some more championships over the next decade. And every expectation and sign that's going to happen. So they've got to figure out something. But it sure sounds like from the police chief there that this was in the case of one person deciding to go in and shoot a bunch of people. This was a dispute, they believe, between multiple parties that had guns on them at a parade in a backpack and
then decided
to
that
dispute to a ridiculous level with no care for anybody around whatsoever. And that's why they were asked once again about the gun violence in the city, because there is on a daily basis. The police chief was asked about a shooting that had occurred, unrelated, but a shooting that had occurred earlier in the day yesterday. This stuff is happening on a daily basis.
Kansas City has set record numbers for their city for homicide-related deaths over the last few years. So, yeah, it has unfortunately become part of the fabric of the city and part of the story for how do we get better about that as a city. I know that it's supposed to make me feel like they ask those questions because you're like, well, if it's a terrorist incident, it's this person who is just like hell-bent on destroying the great time of others. But it doesn't make me feel better that they just chose to take their dispute public. It hurts just the same knowing that they decided to bring these guns down there and have this dispute out in public in front of hundreds of thousands of people and ruin the lives of so many or affect the lives of so many and then change the way we have to look at these going forward. It's incredibly frustrating that that's the case. If we get more information on the charges, which could very easily come early this afternoon or later this evening for the official announcement, we'll certainly bring you that, the same as we brought you that press conference. But yeah, I mean, I know that like in a way it's like, oh, well, it's this versus it's just a dispute, not, God, it's still, it doesn't make me feel better about
there's still 23 victims and one person lost their life.
Yeah. Let's hope that number stops, I guess. It's gone up each of the times since they started giving the numbers. I think the initial number was 9, up to 22.
As of last night, it was 22, yeah. And then this morning, the update we just got was 23, again, age 8 to 47, with one individual deceased. Coming up next, though, we will continue, of course, throughout the show discussing the events of yesterday and moving forward and healing a little bit together as the city. We'll open up the phone lines. We'll also be joined by Danny Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver. He was at the parade as well, like so many here in Kansas City. We'll get his reaction to the events next.
You're listening to Cody and Gold. Don't miss the Chiefs Red Half Hour every weekday starting at 11:30 on your official broadcast partner of the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
I had the absolute pleasure of spending part of my weekend while we were in Vegas with my good friends over at Century Roofing. The reason why you want to work with good quality people is because you know you can trust them. They're a locally owned company who has been in business since 1990. They've installed over 30,000 roofs in the Kansas City area. Look, I mean, just hanging out with somebody gives you a sense of what they're like, but that's also like how they like to operate their business. You want to make sure that you can get that free estimate to get a sense of, do you need these repairs? Do you need a full roof replacement? They're not going to try to talk into something you don't need. They want to make sure that you're comfortable with the lifespan of your roof, what's next for it, and to make sure that you're covered. They've been female-owned and family-operated locally for more than 30 3 years. So if you're looking for roofing needs, Century Roofing is the company that you want to work with. Schedule your free estimate today from KC-based and female-owned Century Roofing. Trust the pillars of strength, centuryroofingkc.com, and tell them that Cody sent you.
My 13-year-old acts like a puppy again. Almost overnight, she's a different dog.
Perfect poops.
When people switch their dog's food to the farmer's dog, the effects can seem like magic. But there's no magic involved. It's simply real meat and vegetables with all the nutrients dogs need, instead of highly processed pellets. No tricks, just smarter, healthier pet food delivered in packs portioned for your dog. It's amazing what real food can do. Get 50% off your first order at thefarmersdog.com/no-magic.
Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. All you need to do is visit FanDuel/CDOT. Use my promo code to shoot your shot. You can bet on all your favorite NBA teams, NBA players, like a quick bet, a live same-game parlay. Plus, you can even get in on the action for NBA All-Star Weekend and the game. Exclusive player props that really make gambling on these games fun. All you need to do is visit FanDuel/CDOT. Use my promo code to shoot your shot. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA, and also 610 Sports Radio. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as novel drawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem. Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Erectile dysfunction affects many men in America today, but it's not just the man who's affected. It's also often their partner. But successful treatment of ED can truly bring relationships back to life. This is Jeff, the CEO of Promenic Restorative Men's Health, and that's why I'm pleased to announce the opening of our second location of Heartland Men's Health right here in Independence, Missouri. As a Promenic affiliate, Heartland Men's Health is a part of a group that has successfully treated tens of thousands of men over the last decade with treatments that are shown in medical studies to be effective in well over 90% of men. And unlike wave therapy groups or online pill sellers, we offer a variety of treatments to help you get the results you want. You could even find you're performing like you haven't in years. So call Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes a medical consult, blood work, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. That's heartlandmenshealth.com.
Hey, it's Kling. There are many reasons I love Hy-Vee, the great values, the selection, the service, and I love to rack up fuel savers. And you can as well. Shop Hy-Vee on Monday, earn a fuel discount equal to the high temperature on Sunday and the amount you spend. If the high is 68 degrees on Sunday, I'll save 68 cents per gallon when I spend $68 on Monday. Heat up the savings every Monday through April 29th only at Hy-Vee.
Must look up code 80007 at checkout or promo code HEATUP when shopping online. See store for details.
The best deals at the pump happen when you shop the aisles of Hy-Vee with help from the first Warn 5 weather team.
This is KCTV5 Chief Meteorologist Luke Doris. Watch KCTV5 Sunday night at 10 for our official high temperature.
Whatever it was on Sunday means you save on Monday with your Hy-Vee Perks card. If the high was 63 degrees, you save 63 cents a gallon when you spend at least $63.
Watch First Warn 5 weather on KCTV5 this Sunday at 10.
I lock up my Old Spice Fiji aluminum-free dry spray to keep that 24/7 lasting freshness safe for myself. Fresh coconuts, palm trees in the wind. It's like catching waves in Fiji. Actually, I just talked myself into a refreshing spritz of Fiji. My Old Spice is missing! No!
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
With your choice of select sandwich, nugs, fries, and a drink, Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag is your go-to. Your nugget wingman. Your hot and crispy fry co-pilot.
Just like us. We're like the bag boys.
What?
Bag boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
For a deal you can count on, bet on Biggie and choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Bag boys.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Includes choice of JVC or crispy chicken sandwich with 4-piece nugs, junior fry, and small soft drink. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Back-to-back Super Bowl champions.
Y'all hear this? We've been fighting for all right all day. How about a little Viva Las Vegas? Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas!
610 Sports Radio, KCSP Kansas City, WDAF HD2 Liberty. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Back here on Cody and Gold, obviously continuing to react to the tragic events of yesterday around Union Station, and we just carried that police press conference with the latest details. If you missed any of that, 3 suspects in custody, 2 of them juveniles, now 23 gunshot victims in relation to yesterday's events. 1 person confirmed dead at this point, and the police have not charged any of the suspects yet, but their expectation is that there will be charges, or their intent is that there will be charges going forward. We'll obviously let you know if there's any other updates on that, maybe later on today. There's not another scheduled press conference, but a lot of times you get about 30-minute notice, and all of a sudden there's another one. So maybe later on today, whether it's during our show, maybe it's during Carrington's show later on this afternoon. I do want to get another perspective on the tragedy of yesterday from someone else that was there near Union Station. Danon Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver, part of the Chiefs radio network. Danon, I appreciate you giving us some time. If you could just, where were you yesterday? Were you there with your family? Where were you, and how did you see yesterday play out?
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on, guys. Terrible event. Obviously, yesterday marred what was leading up to the end of a great day for Kansas City, for Chiefs Kingdom, and it's so sad that we had to experience it all that, and sad for the families that were truly affected. I got text messages from family friends of Miss Lopez Galvan, and before her name was even released. So I kind of knew a little bit about what was happening from that angle. But while we were there, we were actually right next to the stage, about to walk through Union Station. And as we were walking through Union Station to get back on the buses to Arrowhead Stadium, all we saw was a huge amount of law enforcement and all security, and those people fly right past us, jumping the barricades and the gates, heading to what looked like, I believe it was like the west side of Union Station. And we just thought maybe there was just, kids acting up, or maybe a fight or something like that. And you just saw everybody kind of flee that way. But then when we saw the officers with guns drawn trying to direct us down to the bottom underneath Union Station, we realized that it was more than just some kind of raucous event. We didn't hear anything. We got underneath Union Station. Like I said, there were hundreds, maybe 1,000 or so people, because those are how many people boarded the buses at Arrowhead Stadium to shuttle down there. So none of us knew anything, and then when we got underneath Union Station, we had very little to no cell phone service underneath, so we really couldn't get any updates. Some word passed through Deron Cherry to myself and Keith Cash, Sean Barber, Tim Barnett. Those are the former Chiefs that were down there, and that's where the words kind of came through. Jason Dunn was also there as well. We just tried to sort through it all and try to figure out how we were going to make it back to Arrowhead Stadium to get in our cars and get home. It definitely put a huge damper on the entire afternoon, and it's just a sad course of events.
When you're looking at what you think this means team-wise, Dane, I mean, you hear the stories of Trey Smith and Andy Reid. I mean, how hard is it going to be to feel like you'll be able to ever properly celebrate what occurred, knowing what happened after and the impact it's probably going to have on these players for a very long time? We saw all the tweets from them last night.
Yeah, I think it does put you in a perspective of wondering what the future holds. And not just from a player standpoint. I mean, those guys celebrated in the locker. I was in the locker room after the game. I was on the field after the game in Vegas. They celebrated all the way to Kansas City and up to the parade. You could tell that literally that they were celebrating up through the parade. So I don't know if their personal celebration of any future success in the Super Bowl, but their ability to have that same kind of joy with the fans. You know how close we are as a Chiefs community and the Chiefs kingdom, and a lot of the successes that the teams get, well, even with the Royals, when they had their World Series run, you knew it was more about the community. You knew it was more about the kingdom. And these guys look forward to not only celebrating with their teammates right after the clock hits zero, but they really, really strongly look forward to the abilities and the opportunities to celebrate with the kingdom. And now, who knows how that's going to be impacted in the future. This is a tight-knit community from the Hunt family for decades have conditioned us to value the fans and the kingdom in high esteem. And we've always looked forward to it. Even the guys that weren't on the stage yesterday, the Chiefs ambassadors were walking around signing autographs, taking pictures, interacting with the fans, high-fiving, singing, all that stuff. And it's not to bring any light to us. We've already had our time time in the spotlight. It was really just to be able to engage with the fans that we know make it so great for us to be a part of a great organization and a winning organization. So that's the thing that kind of, as the days unfold, it's not going to sit right with a lot of current players that there could be an impact of how they're embracing the community and how they're able to celebrate with the Chiefs Kingdom in the future.
We're talking to Dane and Hughes here on 610 Sports Radio. You can correct me if I misheard you. You started this conversation mentioning that either you or you had friends that knew the victim, the deceased.
Yeah, I had friends that knew. My daughter played volleyball with a teammate whose family was connected with them. So I received text messages pretty much as soon as I got to Arrowhead Stadium, got to my car, about who it was. I was reluctant to post it on social media. You probably see my first post on Twitter, and I just used the initials because I didn't want to be, I didn't want that to be like I was trying to scoop anything or anything like that. It was just about prayers and acknowledgement. But, there's such a tight community here. You're always one or two people away from knowing somebody. And, I got the message from those family friends pretty quickly.
Dana, and we've been asked this question. I think it'd be interesting from your perspective as someone who's been to these here a lot lately too, just the same as we have been. Would this give you any pause about going to an event like this again, knowing that I guess at least this is plausible? I wonder what this will do for Chiefs Kingdom as far as, let's say they win the Super Bowl next year. Will this deter people from wanting to go out?
Well, I would say that based on some of the sensitive responses from a lot of people on the news and on social media, it will definitely hinder people going out there. I can be honest, man. I'm angry. I got a group text with several Chiefs ambassadors. I know Keith Cash, Sean Barber, voiced Eric. We got a bunch of guys that have just voiced their anger with the situation. Bill Moss as well, Eric Hicks, I think we've transitioned into anger, man, because it pisses us off. And I'm sure we're not alone. I'm sure a lot of people at the radio station as well as the fans, because of how much it marred Kansas City, how much it marred the celebration. And obviously at the forefront of that is that the impacted family. And I don't want to make a light about that, but there's an anger that's going through me now and disappointment because of what now will not be the same. And if it's not right for one kid or one family in the future, if we go three-peat and do something that no other NFL team has done in the history of the NFL and win a third Super Bowl in a row, and there's that one family or that one supporter or that one kid who may not have an opportunity ever to get to a game and would have had a chance to be within 50 feet of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid in the celebration and get a picture or something like that. And now that one family won't experience it because of their fear. That pisses me off. And I think I'm speaking for the ambassadors as well. It's the same kind of sentiment. It's just getting under my skin more and more. I think about it as we're 24 hours away from, how it all unfolded, almost 24 hours away from it. I feel more anger now than I did at the time.
Danon Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver. You've lived in Kansas City since, 1993, and I think you expressed how a lot of people are feeling here. I appreciate it, and glad you're safe. Glad the family's safe as well.
Appreciate it, fellas.
There you go,
Prayers for the family, prayers for everybody impacted. You guys keep doing a great job covering it.
Thank you. There you go. Danon Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver, part of the Chiefs Radio Network, giving us some time today discussing from his point of view. And he said they were underneath Union Station and had no cell signal, didn't know for sure what was going on. And as the team and everybody was trying to get back towards the buses to load up back towards Arrowhead. Yeah. And I think he kept saying anger. That is how a lot of us, and I think listening, and we've talked about this, people should be angry. Other than the obvious, which is should be terribly sad for victims of this horrific shooting, and specifically the children angle to this as well. And what he said there, it's not even just questioning whether or not parades in the future look different, but if you are someone, and you can speak to this better than I can, I don't have kids, but I have nephews or whatever, but you have kids, whether or not you feel like you will be willing to take them. And I know it's very fresh and raw still. It's not even been 24 hours since this terrible shooting. And so as time goes on, maybe if we were to ask people 6 months from now or a year from now, maybe their answer is going to be different. But I'll just ask you, Cody, I imagine there's some pause in the future whether or not families will be willing to bring their kids to an event like this.
I would think so. I mean, I'd be surprised if some people don't show some reservation. Maybe it's not a majority. It's hard to say. I mean, but I would certainly show more reservation. Look, there is no worse feeling on the planet than being fearful for your kid's safety. If you're the parent of that 16-year-old kid that Andy Reid had to comfort, you're mortified and angry, like Dana mentioned, pissed off that you even had to think about that for a second. I don't even like when my kid comes home and we did a drill today. That's cool. I'm like, what for? Active shooter? Yeah, I don't want to live in a place where I have to constantly fear the possibility of my kid's own endangerment. Guns are the number one cause of child death. In this country, that's horrifying to think about. So that's, of course, why I would be reserved about the possibility of, taking them into a place where maybe it's not more likely, but the more people, it always just feels like the greater chance someone makes a horrible decision. And yeah, the people who were involved in this incident, and we don't know much yet. We know that of the 3 people, they have arrested 2 are juveniles. I'm pissed off that they would choose at any point to involve themselves in the innocent people all around you in what you're choosing to take in a public setting. No one had to die. You could have, and you chose this moment to mar an event that will always feel weird. I'm telling you, parades will always feel a little bit more weird having been anywhere near it. I wasn't even at Union Station. I was several blocks away. I can't even imagine if you were actually in the event. We had several coworkers who were within 100 feet of that. I had friends who were whisked off into team buses to be taken away. I had friends who had to hide in bathrooms and were being guarded by police as they were waiting the circumstance to go on there. We all knew people who were directly tied to this thing. Dana's right. I feel way more angry than I feel both. But anger is the one that's currently winning over the sadness, I'll be honest. But both are there. There's no doubt.
There is an update I do want to pass on. This comes from KMBC. They got an update. So Channel 9 got an update from Children's Mercy. This is at least some encouraging news in this whole situation, which is that only 3 of the 12 patients that were from the rally at Children's Mercy are still at the hospital.
That's great news.
All others have been released. 11 of the kids aged 6 to 15, 9 of the kids had been shot. But the fact that there is only 3 of the 12 patients still at the hospital is very encouraging news, all things considered, with what has occurred in the last 24 hours or so.
Yeah, last night when I had seen the initial update Children's Mercy gave, which was the initial update they gave, which was like, hey, it looks like none of them are in life-threatening conditions right now. It was really encouraging. We do want to hear from you, 913-586-7610. So if you've got a first-hand account or you just want to talk through it a little bit, we haven't had a chance to open the phone lines yet. We're going to talk to Nate Taylor at 11:30 and Mackenzie Nelson, who was down on scene at noon. But we got plenty of time for your calls as well. So 913-586-7610 or the text line, same number. Obviously, 913-586-7610.
Yeah, we'll talk this out together, right? We all have a lot of emotions and thoughts being in Kansas City, whether you were at the parade directly or certainly had somebody I'm sure you knew at the parade. Let's start things off. Double J, he joins us here on Cody and Gold.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking the call. I was down there yesterday, and I didn't hear the gunshots. I mean, because it was so loud down there. And then I just saw a ton of people running, and they were like, "Oh, there's someone shooting," and it took me a second to process what was going on and everything, and just scary, and it's just sad to see what this world's coming to, and I mean, and those stuff that, like, people being on their phones too much, playing violent video games, they need to take away some of that stuff. And people are just selfish too. They don't think about their actions and how it can affect other people. It's just sad to see, and that's how I go. And just praying for the victims, and we'll Casey's strong, and we'll get through this together. So. Thank you, guys, and I'll listen off here.
All right, thank you. Double J with the phone call, 913-586-7610. And, yeah, this is a city that's going to get through this thing together, and communities, and we just heard from Dane and Hughes. I mean, people directly, through friends or directly knowing any of the victims, the impact that has, and as the hours and days go forward, I imagine there will be some more information on how people can potentially help some of the victims. I know one way right now, though, that people have been encouraging, the KC Community Blood Center has been encouraging individuals. If you're trying to figure out how to, right now, can you help with all these victims? And that's a big part of it. The Community Blood Center, I'll just read a tweet that they put out earlier today. Our hearts are with everyone impacted by the tragedy in Kansas City. Community Blood Center has provided blood and blood products to the hospitals treating the victims. If you are able and want to help, please find a donation center or drive near you. If you go on Twitter at Blood Center KC, or just Google Community Blood Center, they've got a link there that you can type in your zip code, and it'll give you, wherever you are in the city, the nearest area, donor centers, all of that. You can schedule the appointment, everything. That's a valuable resource and a need in the Kansas City community right now as well. For those that everybody's always asking, how can they help immediately? There'll be other avenues, I'm sure, as the days go on, but that's something immediately that could have an impact here in the area.
If you're a first responder who is reacting to the scene, just so you know, our friends over at the Battle Within, we've worked with them multiple times for our wiffle ball game and other things involved. They're offering licensed therapist help free of charge to any first responder who might need to seek that. In addition to that, look, I would say that just in general. I think that it's an easy thing to say, and in sports radio, it's very rarely we would talk about it. But if you need help, I don't think you should be embarrassed by it. Typically on this show, we always say, hey, we're an open book.
Right.
Generally, I would say that we are. But there are things and information that you protect sometimes because, I don't know if it's embarrassment or just because of it. I have recently, I would say sometime in the last 3 months, been seeking a therapist because I was having panic attacks, like full-blown shutdown panic attacks in public places and in others, and not on the air. Fortunately enough, you wouldn't know that, over an incident that had occurred separate from what this is. Therapy can help. It's important to see people who can help you work through those problems if you're having related trauma to it, and it might come later. Might be today, might be tomorrow, doesn't really matter when. But if you're having those issues, seeking out someone to speak to on these things can make a massive difference in your life, and you should seek out that kind of assistance if you need it. So there's lots of different things you can do, both for yourself and for others. Donate blood for others. Great. Seek therapy for yourself. Whatever it is that you may need, there are those things in place, especially revolving events like this.
Some of the resources the city has made available, and that's important to pass along, some support lines. Dial 988. We've told you about that number throughout the football season. Frankly, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline hotline was, I believe, our Red Friday sponsor for much of this season. But 988, ComCare, 988 is a 24/7 text, call, and chat Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. There's also a youth violence prevention support line. YChat, that is the name of the Youth Violence Prevention Support Line. That's 816-799-1720. Before we get a break in, and as you said, Nate Taylor is going to join us. So we want to go back into the phones, 913-586-7610. You can tell me, Q, is Blake next up? Is that right? Blake in KC, I believe, is next up here on Cody and Gold.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, so just wanted to share my experience. Thankfully, my wife didn't come. My father-in-law ended up not making it. It was just me there. And kind of crazy. Beautiful day, perfect day. Kind of looking around, noticing, the extra security, the guys the police officers on top of the roof, just kind of making sure everyone's safe. And it's just kind of wild that, in the back of your mind, this day and age, I was thinking to myself, even though it was a perfect day, just can't help but kind of have those intrusive thoughts in the back of your mind, like, hey, this is the biggest crowd probably in the U.S. right now, and you never know, something could happen. And unfortunately, as I was standing there, cheering on Nick Wright, fellow 6'10" native, KC native, I saw people start casually climbing a barrier, which I thought was really weird. And then, all of a sudden, ambulance pulls up, lots of sirens going off, and then I hear, what sounded like someone maybe stepping on like a water bottle. It just sounded like a loud pop. Really kind of all happened all at once, and next thing you know, everyone's on the ground. I get on the ground, and it was just really, really wild to experience something like that, and I just feel for all the children that were there on the ground with their parents and just everyone involved. It's just really, really sad to see how this is kind of almost a norm. Like, people were pretty casual still about the whole situation. And so I just kind of want to share my side of it. I really appreciate the message on mental health and, seeking therapy. I do myself. I think it's good, especially in the younger generations, that we're actually embracing that. It's nothing that's, it's not really a sensitive subject to talk about amongst your friends and family anymore. So just wanted to share my piece there, and I'll listen off the air. Thanks.
Hey, appreciate it, Blake. Blake in KC calling in 913-586-7610, his experience there. And that was and I don't know if it was that so many people, based off of the accounts we've heard like that, or even the video, that so many people truly didn't know what was going on, or a credit to
the individual stuff was confusing too. There was other loud noises.
A credit to those around and law enforcement, but you always wonder in a circumstance when you have this many people in a shooting, the worry you hear about all these other injuries that occur, if someone gets trampled or whatever. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like you had that. Like, maybe there was some
got lucky there.
Got lucky where people truly didn't know what was going on, and that's what eased the complete chaos of it in a horrific situation. But you always wonder. We're talking about, very easily people could have been trampled. That, fortunately, there was some order, if you will, to the exiting, the evacuation of the area.
We're going to get more of your calls at 913-586-7610. If you're willing to hang on the line, we can get to you here after we talk to Nate Taylor. But if not, we will give you more time later in the show as well. 913-586-7610.
Nate Taylor from The Athletic, he was there with his family, with his son. We want to get his perspective on covering the Chiefs, and then ultimately ended up being at a parade like everybody else that turned into such a tragedy. That's coming up next here on Cody and Gold.
Cody and Gold, weekdays starting at 10 on 610 Sports Radio and the Odyssey app.
Winter is more than half over, and things are looking up. But before we start thinking about spring lawn care, I'd like to ask you to look up at your trees. This is Larry Ryan at Ryan Lawn and Tree. And right now, before the leaves fill in, is a great time to find and take care of old storm damage, remove dead branches, and carefully prune trees for better growth and storm resilience. Now is also when you can save 15% with our winter rates. Our team of master pruners and certified arborists is unmatched in both skill and care. And at Ryan Lawn and Tree, they're also employee owners. You're not just a customer, you're their customer. I think you'll be impressed with the difference that makes. So will your valuable trees. Take advantage of our winter rates and enjoy 15% off all tree services when you book before March 1st. Call today or book online at ryanlawn.com/tree.
Look, we all just dealt with these miserable temperatures, -15, -20 wind chill. Maybe you're working in these conditions, which sounds terrible, and you said, you know what? It's time for a new career.
If you've had enough, go to centric.com/610 and find a new career in IT. Whether it be AI or cloud software, there's so many available options than sitting outside in the temperatures we're dealing with now and doing those jobs. Whether you can't get a check because it's too cold or because it's too cold to physically want to be outside.
Reach out to our buddy Russ now at centric.com/610. Now is one of the best times to call up Dury Vision and find out if they can help you with your vision goals and needs going forward like they did for me, which was SBK Advanced LASIK. Now I don't use contacts. I don't use glasses anymore. That is one of the things that I regret not doing years and years and years ago. Look, we all put off things. You say, oh, it's going to be too expensive, or I don't know if I'm a candidate. Those were all things that crossed my mind before I went in for my free consultation for Dury Vision. And one, I found out that I was a candidate for LASIK after being told many years before that I wasn't. And if financial issues are the reason for that, they offer financing options, including right now an opportunity to save up to $1,000 off that LASIK procedure with their friends and family discount. It's a program that's normally reserved just for friends and family, but it's open to you as well. You just got to go online to duryvision.com or give them a call at 913-491-3330. That's 913-491-3330 and schedule that free consultation. You can even conduct it virtually over Zoom. That's duryvision.com.
I'm Jeff Davis, owner of Volkswagen Lease Summit. During our cash-in sale, we're offering you the most cash for your trade and the lowest prices Volkswagen has to offer.
We'll buy your car if it's original base MSRP when you upgrade to a new or used car at Volkswagen Lease Summit. Only deducting for mileage, manufacturer incentives, and any damage. Cash in today. Plus, we have leases starting at $239 a month or rates as low as 1.9% for 48 months.
Turn your car into cash. Visit VWLeaseSummit.com.
Financing through VCI on approved credit. Call 816-841-7383 for details.
Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. All you need to do is visit FanDuel/CDOT. Use my promo code to shoot your shot. You can bet on all your favorite NBA teams, NBA players, like a quick bet, a live same-game parlay. Plus, you can even get in on the action for NBA All-Star Weekend and the game. Exclusive player props that really make gambling on these games fun. All you need to do is visit FanDuel/CDOT. Use my promo code to shoot your shot. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA, and also 610 Sports Radio. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
With your choice of select sandwich, nugs, fries, and a drink, Wendy's $5 Biggie Bag is your go-to. Your nugget wingman. Your hot and crispy fry co-pilot.
Just like us. We're like the bag boys.
What?
Bag boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
For a deal you can count on, bet on Biggie and choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Bag boys.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Includes choice of JVC or crispy chicken sandwich with 4-piece nugs, junior fry, and small soft drink. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader. Like that car right in your tail.
Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
With your choice of select sandwich, nugs, fries, and a drink, Wendy's $5 biggie bag is your go-to. Your nugget wingman. Your hot and crispy fry co-pilot.
Just like us. We're like the bag boys.
What?
Bag boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we bring your food?
For a deal you can count on, bet on Biggie and choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Bag boys.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Includes choice of JBC or crispy chicken sandwich with 4-piece nugs, junior fry, and small soft drink. Third-party delivery pricing may be higher.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, clickgrainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Chiefs coverage brought to you by Max Motors. 9 major vehicle brands to choose from. MaxMotors.com. Going on at all Max Ford locations.
Love it or trade it now.
New 2023 Dodge Charger. Max Easy Price, $34,987.
Pick your model, choose your color. MaxMotors.com.
With approved credit, stock number S230055. Expires February 29, 24.
Back here on Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp. Q producing the show for us. Drew will be back with us tomorrow. We are continuing to take your texts and calls throughout the show today, 913-586-7610, after yesterday's tragic event and shooting that we just got an update on it within the last hour or so. As we said, 2 juveniles among the 3 suspects that are in custody from the Kansas City Police Department. Also, the encouraging update is that 3 of the victims that were being treated, only 3 are left now at the hospital versus the 12 from last night. So obviously a positive sign in what has been a horrific 24 hours or so, but encouraging news on that route when it comes to recovery. We'll continue to let you know if we get any more information, but I do want to go out to the 610 hotline and welcome in Nate Taylor from The Athletic, typically our Chiefs insider, but we're all Kansas Cityans. And Nate, you were right there near Union Station. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you were there with your family, right?
Yeah, thanks for having me on as always, fellas. I'll try to provide the best explanation I can give because this is the first really interview I've done since attending the parade yesterday. You know, because it was the Chiefs' 3rd championship parade, I made the decision, which I thought was, loving and fun at the time, to take my 8-year-old son, Hayden, my wife, Holly, and our relatively new puppy, Maple, to the parade. So we saw the parade from 20th and Grand, and you don't necessarily consider this. I didn't consider at the time, obviously, of anything nefarious or tragic occurring. But we made the decision just as parents to go back towards downtown, to not go to Union Station just because of the crowd was going to be pretty packed. And I wanted to listen to the guys on stage. Obviously, as you all know, we don't really get players after the parade and the rally. There is no sort of media availability. What they say on stage is basically for all of us to hear. So I wanted to go back north towards downtown to listen to the rally and obviously to hear the guys on stage. So that's the decision we made, and not knowing at the time that would be considered, potentially life-saving to some degree. So thanks for having me on. I will try to provide as much context as I can. But thankfully for me and my family, we were not there, and obviously we're just heartbroken like everyone else in the city as to understanding more and more why this happened, and just the confusion of why anyone would bring a gun to a parade and a rally that is, as everyone has said, supposed to be celebratory.
Like, I think it's going to be really hard, Nate. I think, as you know, like you write about the Chiefs, you've been around the players a lot. It's going to be hard not to do if the Chiefs are fortunate enough to do another one of these parades, and it sure seems like they are. It's going to be hard not to always think of this incident if they continue to do them in front of Union Station. And I was kind of off put. Like, one of the things that really stood out to me is Union Station has easily become the figurehead of this entire city. It's our version, right, of the arch, whatever. Anytime they show Kansas City, they show Union Station and the people in front of it. I mean, it's going to be hard to reconcile the fact that the figure of our city is now going to be this signal of such a a horrific event.
Yeah, and it's not the first, and when you have to use the logic and the sound judgment of our brains, it's not going to be the last. I've obviously, me and Holly, we got married in New York City, and so we are obviously, we know much of the history of all of 9/11, and obviously the towers and the fact that there's a new One Trade Center, and every time you go by it, you're obviously reminded of why that is there and not the original two towers. So I'm not going to equate it necessarily to that, but I'm just giving an example of, like, yes, we all understand that even when you fly into New York City or you see the skyline, like, there's clearly a difference. That won't necessarily be the case with the structure, but I just want to remind people from a historical standpoint, what we have is the World War I memorial, the museum, obviously the tower, and we have Union Station because Union Station was the opening to Kansas City for the boom of the railway system. If you wanted to get to Kansas City from the east, going to the west, you went through Union Station. And it's one of the more marvels of its time for when it was built based on the economic impact of the subway, or not the subway, but of the railway industry. So that really is the front door. That really is the facade to the city, and that's why it's obviously so publicly used for tourism standpoint, and obviously for us as Kansas Cityans. So I don't think it's going to change necessarily, but obviously you can't look at it now and not understand the severity of what happened yesterday. And I heard Mayor Quentin Lucas's comments today in regards to, like, the potential of a future parade, whether it's the Royals or Sporting Kansas City or the Kansas City Currents or obviously the Chiefs. I understand when he says that, they're going to have it's wild, but they're going to have a St. Patrick's Day parade because they always have a St. Patrick's Day parade.
Sure.
And he said today that, his expectation, I should say, is that the city will have a parade, that it will be at Union Station. I know that is jarring for people to hear and for me to maybe inform them of that news of what Mayor Quentin Lucas said today, but I understand why he says it, just because, you want to be able to celebrate the things that you should be able to celebrate, but you also have a responsibility to keep people safe. And one thing that is being discussed in the NFL that, we will hopefully have more reporting, more thoroughness on The Athletic on our website later today or, perhaps as early as tomorrow morning is, the NFL is wrestling with the idea, well, do we have these events in our stadium? Because we haven't had an issue like this in our stadiums. And what I mean by that is there is a level of security checkpoints and rechecking and making sure where everybody is and what everybody comes into the facility in with, then obviously at a public, parade. And so the NFL is going to try to best handle, if a team wins the next Super Bowl, whoever that team is it better for us to host the parade and the celebration in that team stadium with, the level of security that you would have at a regular season game or a playoff game or obviously the Super Bowl, because we could at least assure those people, even though it would obviously scale the crowd from, as the police chief said today, Police Chief Graves said, hey, it's an estimate of nearly 1 million people in and around downtown Union Station and obviously the parade in between. And now you want to significantly reduce that to like less than 100,000 people. But if that is what is necessary to ensure the safety of everyone, including the players, including their fans, their family members, the support staff, all that. Is that the responsibility that the NFL has to make? Because obviously there are shooting incidents everywhere in America, every day in America. And that's not just me saying that. That is statistically a known fact.
We're talking to Nate Taylor of The Athletic. Yeah, I think that's a conversation that at least has to be had at this point. All of us want to still have the parade and ideally the way it has been, but I think you have to consider the conversation at least of what the next parade, whether it's in Kansas City or not, could look like. And yeah, it wouldn't be the same situation from a fanfare, but also ultimately we got to make sure people are safe and protected, and that should be the number one priority. I wanted to ask you, we saw and heard actually this morning, Trey Smith was on Good Morning America, and he was giving his account of the events, and it sounds like multiple Chiefs players were incredible in the moment, including maybe Andy Reid as well, and comforting kids that were fearing for their lives. I didn't know if you happened to have heard anything else in regards to that, or any chance to catch up with any Chiefs players in any contact with Chiefs officials.
No. Thanks for asking. I think Trey Smith probably has the most in detailed account of what we've heard so far. Me and a number of my colleagues have reached out to players, and it's just, there's more stories of confusion. What just happened? Okay, we went from celebrating to now we're being sort of essentially evacuated, without that word necessarily being used at the time, going back to Arrowhead so that we can be safe. But, there was more confusion, just like you saw a number of those people running, not sure what direction they should run towards or run from, I should say. Trey Smith is he's just one of the best human beings associated with the Kansas City Chiefs. I want to make that point clear, and yesterday is another demonstration of that, even if we just all wish we could not have to go through that. But obviously there's a story in the Kansas City Star in regards to Andy Reid trying to comfort a student, I believe, from Shawnee Mission East, which is where my son will eventually go if I continue to live where I live on the Kansas side. But yeah, I think most players that I've talked to, even some of the staff, has just been, grateful that they're all healthy and they're all safe. But obviously they're devastated because it's just not something that really entered their minds. And I think for a lot of players, and you saw this after wave after wave after wave, in particular on Twitter, of them expressing their anger, their sadness, because they were trying to understand it just as much as we were, with us obviously not knowing all the facts. The police department is still trying to piece things together, and it's really it appears really clunky, but it's just going to take a long time for them to get as much information accurately as much as they can, and then of course for them to verbalize it and obviously have us communicate it to as many people as we can. So for a lot of players in particular, and I don't want to name anybody, but for a lot of players, it was going from the elation and honestly the alcoholic experience that we all expect at these parades to, wait, say that one more time, and wait, what just happened? And wait, now we're going, okay, I knew we were going back to Arrowhead, but we're going back now, and all of a sudden, what just happened? And, what did my teammate do, or what did this person do? And, I was supposed to go on this bus, but now I'm on that bus. There was just so much uncertainty, I guess is probably the best word to say. But as of, last night, a lot of guys were calling one another, texting one another, and then obviously trying their best to verbalize the way they felt about the shooting.
Nate, do you think it'll be hard, for just you personally, right? I think it's kind of good to get an individual perspective on it, to go to those events with your family, the normal way you used to do it. Would it'll give you an extra second of pause, but will it stop you from doing it?
Look, I'm not, I would like to believe, Phyllis, that I'm not naive. I would like to believe that, I've seen gun violence multiple times in my life. I understand as a reporter, and this is even before you get into your career as a sports journalist or a sports writer. I've obviously seen violence. I've experienced it. I've talked to family members, who have had to deal with this. I understand the dangers of living in America. And I understand that it's my job to protect my family as best I can, but I'm only a human being, and I have to extend a level of trust to obviously people in our community that are supposed to keep us safe, that are trying their best for public safety, right? So it's not like I'm going to not go to an event, or it's not like I'm not going to try to be a good father and a good husband. I moved everything in my schedule, fellas, yesterday to take my son to the parade. And I'm grateful that I got the chance to do that, because in previous years, I've just been like, okay, this is just another part of my job. And, since you guys are asking me, I don't watch the football games with my son. He was at our home, obviously, cheering for the Chiefs and having a good time with our family. But, for me and him to experience the team, this is the best I can probably offer him, because I'm always in the press box, I'm always in the locker room, I'm always trying to do my job to the best that I can. But I told my editors, I told everyone, like, hey, I'm making this decision because the weather looks great. It looks a lot better than it was last year. And I have the ability to do this now, and I don't know when the next race is going to be, and my son's 8, and he really, really wants to go, and we should have that father-son experience, just like so many parents I saw yesterday. There were so many children on the shoulders of one of their parents, and I was one of them. And I'm so glad I got to experience it, and I'm so glad that he was able to have a fun time. But I also know the dangers, and I can't be naive to it. And obviously I'm a man of faith. I'm a Christian. I'm not afraid to share that with anybody. Obviously I give a lot of my faith to Christ. And so, you have to do things the best we can with the information and the awareness we have. But obviously we all have choices to make. And I made that choice yesterday. And I also made the choice to not go to the rally just because I didn't want my son to necessarily be in that big of a crowd, but also because, again, from a job standpoint, I would like to hear what Chris Jones and Travis Kelce have to say, which I don't know if I'm going to hear that as clearly, if I'm amongst a crowd versus trying to find a television to just make sure that I monitor from, again, a child perspective. So, again, I tried to blend both my personal life and my professional life to the best of my abilities, and I hope people understand that. I was not at the scene, obviously, so I didn't want to present myself as if I was there. I tried to help, as many people as I could, but I couldn't really give a ton of information. Again, I appreciate you all for having me on. But we're going to have to make decisions throughout our lives that are ultimately difficult, because there is someone who could potentially bring a gun to anything. And I just have to be mindful of that while also trying to present and give my family and my son memorable shared experiences that are life fulfilling, even though we know there's danger everywhere.
Nate Taylor from The Athletic, appreciate the time, and obviously so happy and thankful that you, your wife Holly, and your son Hayden are all safe as well. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. And I just want to tell everybody in Kansas City that, I love them, and obviously me and my family are praying for the victims and their families as well.
Nate Taylor from The Athletic, our Chiefs insider. Obviously, normally we're talking Chiefs football, but he kind of gave us a great description of his balance of being a dad while being a reporter, while making those decisions that you have to make as a father as well.
I would have rather been talking about Chris Jones talking about staying in Kansas City too. Much rather talk about that. I didn't even tell my kids about it. So we went to go pick up my daughter was off of school. I told you we chose not to take her. My son had a field trip that day. We went to go pick up my daughter, and clearly our in-laws hadn't heard about it yet, because they hadn't called to make sure we were okay, and they hadn't heard about it. They were working or doing whatever. And so because our daughter was right there, and folks were like, well, I'm not going to have this whole big conversation with him right now. We'll just take our kid. We'll go pick up the other kid. And once they figured out what had taken place down there, they called immediately, are you okay? Where were you? And those things. And I had that moment of do I talk to my kids about what? Because she had watched part of the parade on TV, my daughter had. And I was like, nah, they can just be kids. Live your life as innocently as you can for as long as you can. Because at some point, you'll have to face the harsh realities of life. And if I can prevent that from being your reality for some length of time, then good. Good. Maybe it's ignorance, but as long as I can keep you out of needing to see that, the better.
913-586-7610. There's a couple of you that have been waiting a very long time. I want to make sure we give you guys an opportunity as we're all talking through this in Kansas City. And I want to go. I know Scott's been on hold for quite some time. Scott, you're on with Cody and Gold. Appreciate the call.
Hi, guys. Hey, thanks for taking my call. Number one, I heard a story today where there was 3 younger women, early 20s, late teens, and during the shooting, a bunch of dads circled them to protect them. And secondly, this stuff, we don't do this in the Midwest. And I'm angry, and if I've been crying. We don't do this. This isn't us. It's fine if it's LA or whatever. We don't do this. We help each other. So that's it, guys. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Scott. I appreciate the phone call.
Thanks, Scott.
Look, it shouldn't happen anywhere, right? Whether it's LA or Kansas City. And I know we obviously have a deeper connection having grown up in Kansas City, and it is stunning to happen. That story, I wonder if we'll get more details of the first point Scott made about fathers protecting young ladies out there or whatever. That would be incredible if that was the case. Yeah,
we'll get more and more stories
like
no
that.
Doubt.
And we know there were a lot of heroes. One, there were law
Citizens
enforcement
tackling people.
There were law enforcement officers obviously running towards harm to protect. There were also citizens, Chiefs fans, right? Just Chiefs fans trying to celebrate a championship. You heard, and it was Tony. We'll play the audio again in the noon hour.
Yeah.
Tony, I believe, was the gentleman's name that tackled the video that's gone viral that everybody's probably seen, right? That tackled one of the alleged suspects in this incident yesterday. And to be able to do that, that's a hero. There were a lot of heroes yesterday. And the doctors at Children's Mercy and any of the local hospitals that it took in patients. And there were already doctors or at least medical staff that were at the parade to begin with, right? Not, just in case they needed medical assistance. The quick reaction that so many of them had. I think the the fire chief said in the 10 o'clock hour today that within 10 minutes, all the victims were
in a hospital.
We're in a hospital. That's how quickly the reaction was. And that's which is amazing to hear, but that's also what I think is so disheartening too, though, at the same time. What I mean by that is that there was so much personnel there ready to help and assist in such a quick time, and still one person lost their life, and still there are 3 children in a hospital, and there were 23 victims.
12 of which, half of which were kids. I mean, let's just, the numbers are half of which were children, juveniles, between the age of 8 and 16, I think they said. I mean, that's just terrifying. They're children. They had no business being victims of a crime. And two of the suspects that they have in custody are also juveniles under the age of 18, according to at least the police report. But to have to deal with that at all, just horrifying.
We'll get one more quick call in, 913-586-7610. Amanda, I know she's been on hold for about a half hour, so we want to make sure you get on the show. Amanda, you're on with Cody and Gold.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Love the show. It just sucks because we were so excited. My kids and I were so excited to listen to what everyone had to say about Chris Jones's speech and all the things that he was saying, whether he was inebriated or not.
Right.
It was quite exciting. We actually weren't too far from where it was happening, and I have 5 kids, and they all wanted to go, and they really wanted to be at the rally, so that's where we ended up posting up, and we were getting ready to leave, and we thought there were fireworks afterwards, because it literally happened right after the players got done speaking, and so we thought it was fireworks, and then all of a sudden a flood of people just started moving our way, and my kids were like, what? Because we were headed that direction, and my kids were like, what is happening? And anyways, but it just sucks that, a few people ruined it for a million people who were having the best time. But I wanted to take just a second to highlight so many great people. I have 5 kids. I think I said that already. Sorry. And they range in age from 10 to 1. And there were two younger guys who were helping, like had 2 of my kids and were helping me get out of there. And then they ended up going a different direction. And then I had another couple that ended up helping me get my stroller up off the wall because there was another incident of people running. It was very scary, but not only highlighting the good people that ran into danger, but also those who were helping other people around. And I really take that and just highlight the people of Kansas City and the good people here. It just sucks that 2 bad people or a few bad people ruined it for everybody, but there was so much goodness happening. And I even that night we were talking to our kids and just discussing what happened. And honestly, my 10-year-old said to my husband, and he said, Dad, he was like, there were so many people that were trying to help Mom and us get out of there. And I just started crying because it was just such a cool moment that in all of that traumatic and those traumatic events, that's the one thing that he, remembers. So that's all I have to say. I just appreciate you guys' show. Love you guys, and I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Amanda. Fantastic to hear the story of so many people in Kansas City helping, though. And that we've heard, yeah, absolutely. And we've 5 kids that you had at the parade, and to hear, she's correct, right? 99% of people, that 99% of people are incredible. And
would love to help you.
And I heard other stories. I mean, even little things, right? It's the little things stories like this that you hear. But there were even individuals. I can't remember which fast food restaurant, but it sounds silly. But this just speaks to Kansas City a little bit. Last night, when there were still plenty of law enforcement that were working, to about 8 at 9 o'clock at night, investigating and still at the scene and all that. Somebody that I don't know was a manager of one of the fast food restaurant, brought a ton of food just for police officers. Little acts of kindness. Those are the things I think as you're struggling, as we all are, to get through the events of yesterday that you latch on to feel what Kansas City is about. And yeah, Kansas City, unfortunately, we have seen over the last couple of years in particular, right, that gun violence is a reality of Kansas City, but there is also the reality of amazing people and why we love this city and why we're so angry today and why we're so sad is because we know what it's like to be part of this community. And yesterday was supposed to be, and it was until 1:55 yesterday.
It was till the very end.
It was an amazing day. It really was. And then for it to now just be ruined and to be one of the saddest days in Kansas City history. We'll get more of a perspective from someone that was covering the parade, just hanging out with Willie Gay Jr. on the parade route, to then unfortunately having to cover a shooting. And that's Mackenzie Nelson from 41 Action News. She's going to join us next.
Cody and Gold. Watch the show on YouTube by subscribing to the @610 Sports KC channel. 610 Sports Radio.
We're with Dr. Brandon Kramer, board-certified urologist at Kansas City Urology Care. Doctor, tell us why it's important to see a urologist for erectile dysfunction.
As men get older, not only can they have problems with erections, but they could have a low testosterone, they can develop prostate cancer, they can have trouble going to the bathroom. And as a urologist, we're uniquely qualified to offer all treatments. If the first treatment doesn't work, we can keep on moving down the road until we find something that works for you. Not only can we give pills or injections or a pump, we're also qualified to do surgery.
So KCUC urologists treat the whole person as well as the ED.
They're not just going to focus on the one thing, have you pay cash and get you out the door. We're going to work with you and work with your insurance to get the right treatments at a really affordable price.
If you suffer from ED, see the experts. Kansas City Urology Care. At KCUC, you see the best in KC. To make an appointment, visit appointments.kcurology.com.
Hey, it's Alex Gold from Midwest Marine Boat Company, inviting you to visit the largest indoor showroom in Kansas City for Midwest Marine's in-house sales event, happening February 13th through the 17th, featuring brands like Bennington, Crownline, Vexus, and Sea Arc. Huge savings on all remaining 2023 models, huge factory incentives and discounts, and take advantage of Midwest Marine's free storage and shrink wrap until April 30th. It's the huge in-house sales event at Midwest Marine Boat Company in Grandview.
Gold, you'd mentioned a couple of NFL teams looking for new hires. Maybe you're looking for a new job. If you've gone through that process, you start looking at your resume and you're like, boy, I don't know. Do I have what it takes? You don't need that. You can start a new career in IT in as little as 4 months with Centric.
Yeah, get a fresh start. Something new that provides better stability, better pay, better flexibility with your schedule. And thinking of flexibility, what's great about the program at Centric is maybe you are working right now and you got hours during the day. You're like, how am I supposed to train for a new career if I'm working during the day? Well, they offer classes at night, in person, also through hybrid learning online, you name it. They will work with your schedule and find a program that fits what you need to do. And as you said, it doesn't take long. We're talking about 4 months. You can completely have a brand new career.
That's summertime, by the way. You could just be at the pool talking about your new job at Centric and going through the possibilities. Do you want to work in AI? We've all seen how much that's grown over the last 12 months. Over the last 6 months, it's gotten even bigger. And because they work with this local company network of over 1,500 companies, they can find Centric grads and want to find Centric grads those jobs in IT. Go to Centric.com/610, talk to our guy, Russ Mondry, and start your new year off right by finding that perfect job.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
QC Kinetics patient Robert Patterson, a veteran and business owner, struggled at work and in the gym with chronic agonizing shoulder pain.
Those injuries just continue to nag, and if you don't treat them, they just get worse. And I just kind of abused my body for a long time, and it finally had said enough is enough.
That's okay, because QC Kinetics tells your pain, hey, enough is enough. Their regenerative treatments bring you relief by helping restore and repair damaged tissue with no drugs, no downtime, and best of all, no surgery.
I was able to exceed the goals that I had previously attained in the gym. It was absolutely worth its weight in gold, so I could continue to live life without limitation.
Ready to get lasting relief from your joint pain? Call QC Kinetics to learn more about how natural biologic treatments can get you lasting results. Call now. It's a free consultation.
816-412-6299. QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299.
How about those Chiefs? Trailside RV is celebrating the Chiefs' victory by extending the RV show prices on all Jayco travel trailers, fifth wheels, and motor homes. Trailside is #1, just like our Chiefs. Visit us online at trailsiderv.com or come to our showroom on I-70 in Grain Valley, exit 24. These are the best prices of the year, so don't miss this chance to get ready for the spring camping season.
Hey, you're up next.
My throat hurts so bad. There's no way I can sing tonight.
Here, try these.
Vicks VapoCool Drops.
Yeah, Vicks VapoCool Drops has maximum strength menthol with a rush of Vicks vapors.
Ooh, I can already feel it.
I told you. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Vaporize sore throat pain fast with Vicks VapoCool Drops.
Hey, Joe Montana here. Back in my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia, a bacterial lung disease that can be life-threatening. If you're 65 or older, or 19 or older with certain chronic conditions like diabetes or asthma, you're at increased risk. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist about vaccination and learn more at knowpneumonia.com. That's KNOW pneumonia.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Look, we all just dealt with these miserable temperatures, negative 15, negative 20 wind chill. Maybe you're working in these conditions, which sounds terrible, and you said, you know what? It's time for a new career.
If you've had enough, go to centric.com/610 and find a new career in IT. Whether it be AI or cloud software, there's so many available options than sitting outside in the temperatures we're dealing with now and doing those jobs. Whether you can't get a check because it's too cold or because it's too cold to physically want to be outside.
Reach out to our buddy Russ now at centric.com/610.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. You're listening to the sounds of a dynasty.
For the first time in 6,944 days, there is a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, and it is the Kansas City Chiefs.
The official broadcast partner of the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio, KCSP Kansas City, WDAF HD2 Liberty, always live on the free Odyssey app.
Noon hour here in Kansas City. Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp with you. For those of you that are just joining us today, just a couple updates on where things stand with yesterday's tragic shooting at Union Station following the Chiefs rally. We did get an update earlier today from Kansas City Police Department that among the victims range between 8 and 47 years old. Half of the victims are under 16, and 3 suspects have been detained, 2 of which are juveniles. They have not been charged at this point in time. Recovery of several firearms at the scene. That's where we're at. If there was any encouraging news out of something like this, it's the fact that of the 12 patients that were at Children's Mercy, 3 of them are there. So meaning a majority of them have gone home, have been released from the hospital, which obviously is terrific news. With the updates that we continue to get, we will let you know. Someone that has been updating everybody over for 41, KSHB 41, is our friend Mackenzie Nelson, who, Mackenzie, I mean, you can tell us, just you're obviously the assignment of the day for you. You were having a great time on the parade route like everybody else was. I saw you laying on the asphalt with Willie Gay, having an interview, and that was the theme. That was the fun we were all having. And then very quickly after, of course, your assignment changed for the rest of the day.
Yeah, you guys, it was like one moment I was kind of walking the parade route near 17th and Grand, getting interviews with the guys. Everybody was celebrating, cheering, and then the next we're at Union Station. The guys are swag surfing with Chiefs Kingdom, and then it felt like just moments later you saw everybody running, every different direction because nobody knew what direction to go to get to safety. And so it went from a day of such celebration to just complete chaos, and it seemed like a matter of minutes.
How chaotic was it down there right at Union Station for you? Multiple people have reported there wasn't a lot of movement quick because of all the other noises that come with a parade. Confetti cannons and all the things in between. It sounded like there was kind of a mixed reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, you're right. We were at the center of that area of Union Station, just kind of in front of the stage. We had our own little riser where we were broadcasting live from for that rally at Union Station. And so there were a lot of us on that riser, and our 3 anchors were talking after the rally ended at Union Station. The guys were kind of getting off stage, and I was just on the riser, and I could have swore that I heard what I thought were gunshots. But again, I mean, you mentioned, Cody, that there was so much going on. You never knew if it was like the confetti cannons, fireworks, all that. And so I kind of just stood there. And then I looked and I saw people start to scatter. And I'm like, maybe that was gunshots. And then I swore I heard them again. And so I'm looking at the photographer, Al Miller, who's running these live shots for our anchors. And him and I are looking at each other thinking the same exact thing, like, yes, that is what I heard. And we start to see people start heading east. And it was really crazy because it was so packed down there. And there were so many areas that were gated off because you had your VIP area. You had where, the guys were towards the stage, and then fans were kind of all over in the hill and other grassy areas. And there wasn't a lot of room to get out of there because of things being gated off. And so I start to see people kind of going east, and then I start to realize they start running. We had people jumping fences. We had a couple of VIP members that actually came up onto our riser to take cover and kind of ask us if we knew what was going on. And so moments later, we're hitting the deck, and we're all laying on this riser that we were all anchoring from. And I think it was like, I don't even know, just maybe minutes later, everybody starts running into Union Station. And as we see people running into Union Station, it wasn't even 60 seconds later that they come running back out and police go running in. And then we saw everybody head east again. And so then there was a shooting on the east side. So it was like nobody knew where to go and nobody knew how to get out to safety. They thought running inside the Union Station to take cover was good, and then all of a sudden all those people come running back out. And being on those rises, we thought with everybody running everywhere that our stage might fall down. And that was pretty chaotic. We didn't know where to go. We thought just laying on the ground was probably the safest because nobody knew what direction was safe. And then, 10 minutes after all the chaos was going on, over in KCK, fireworks went off. And it's like, wrong time for those to go off. People are in panic. We don't know where to go. And then you have fireworks going off over in KCK. So it was just a lot of chaos. But I will say the officers that were there, over like 800 officers, I think is what KCPD said, were on site. They did such a great job. And, they came over and told us when we could get up and get out of the area and stuff like that. But for those 30 minutes, I think we were there, maybe even 45. It was very chaotic.
Mackenzie, did you have a chance once the scene kind of calmed down for a little bit, and you were given the all clear there on the risers right around Union Station? Did you have a chance to talk to anybody that kind of stood out to you and residents of Kansas City that obviously were just going there to have a great time?
Yeah, there were a couple people that were there watching the rally that had actually came up to our stage and took cover with us, and we didn't even know them. We had no idea who these people were. This one girl, I didn't even get her name, and I wish I did so I could reach out to her, but she was laying on top of me. And I just hugged her when we were able to get up, and she, went with her friend off to get out of the area, and then, walking back to get on our 41 shuttle to get back to the station and out of the area, just talking with people. Everybody just couldn't believe it. And I will say there was like a video circulating on social media of some fans that, had allegedly tackled some of the suspects. And I don't know if we've confirmed those were the suspects or not, but I will say I saw something on social media that said the people that tackled those guys, that is Kansas City, not the people that were shooting and caused, such a tragedy at such a day that was supposed to be, amazing for Kansas City. So that kind of stuck with me. It's like in the midst of all this chaos and tragedy, it was like we still had people from Kansas City in Kansas City that reacted so quickly. And I think that represents, who we are as a city much better.
Alex and I are usually off a little bit from where the location is, including this time, right? We're all the way up at 20th and Grand. So, we're a 6 or 7 minute walk away under most circumstances. You've been down there at the heart of it multiple times for the other parades, or even this one before the moment took off. Has it ever felt like an uncontrolled environment? Or is it just until this shooting happens that makes it feel like there are too many people here to properly handle it?
I think it was just when the shooting happened. I've never felt unsafe. We've had these parades before, and with us being, the broadcast partner, I was in the middle of the street with the team when they came down, and so I'm just kind of a sitting duck in the middle of the street with fans lining both the streets, and I not once felt unsafe or that I was in harm's way, and then going over to Union Station. Everybody is just there to celebrate. I never felt like I was going to be in an unsafe location or that I had to kind of keep my head on a swivel, anything like that, because we were all there for the same thing. And so I've never felt like I was ever unsafe. And when you looked around, there were police and law enforcement everywhere. We had law enforcement in uniform. We had law enforcement that were out of uniform. Like everywhere you looked, there were people there to make sure everybody was having a safe but enjoyable time at this rally. And it just all changed so quickly, but I had never felt like I was in an unsafe location anywhere along that parade route.
Mackenzie Nelson of KSHB 41. We know you've been busy for the last 15 plus hours. You were on yesterday, I think it was, or something like that. So we really appreciate you giving us some time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for taking the time to talk about it, guys.
There you go. Mackenzie Nelson from 41. And coming up a little bit later on the 1 o'clock hour, we'll be joined by Jackson Kurtz from Channel 9. And as Mackenzie said, you go from an assignment that you had planned all day, which was to be right in the middle of the parade route, which she was, as she was interviewing players throughout the entire parade route down Grand, and then to turn into not only reporting, but as she described, they were laying flat on the risers, not knowing what was to come, and to hear her mention that there was a young lady that was laying on top of her, just because in that moment you're just anything you can, obviously, to protect yourself and survive in that moment. It's pretty jarring still to hear some of the eyewitness type of accounts of those that were right there at Union Station. As you pointed out, we were 8 minutes or so away up on 20th and Grand, and all we saw was a huge amount of law enforcement vehicles flying down Grand. And at that point in time, we didn't know what was going on.
We'll take more of your thoughts, 913-586-7610, more of what you saw, how you're feeling, kind of get the voice of Kansas City, 913-586-7610. I'd asked about the parade thing because we had asked that question ourselves, and Mayor Q got asked about it during that same press conference you were talking about, again, the updates and the numbers. This is what he had to say about what do you do about parades going forward if all of a sudden in Kansas City maybe people don't feel safe around them?
Here's the thing. We have a plan for a St. Patrick's Day parade in Kansas City. We have parades all the time. I don't think they'll end. Certainly we recognize the public safety challenges at issue that relate to them. This is why we have detectives right now who are doing important work to make sure that people who committed these offenses are brought to justice. We will learn about the types of firearms that are used, and we'll do everything that we can, both as a city and working with our state and federal partners, to see that we can help avoid these types of situations. Unfortunately, this is not the first shooting at a parade in our country or a rally. That is certainly a tragic incident for us because we don't have experience with them. You asked the chief at the outset, is this Kansas City? Well, we've had parades like this before. We had one last year without this type of incident. We had a Kansas City Royals victory parade where we had almost no arrests in 2015. So I don't think in any way that this is Kansas City. I do think that there is a gun violence challenge in this community and many others, and there certainly is a gun violence challenge as it relates to major events. That, however, does not mean that Kansas City will stop having major events. We will do all we can to make sure people are safe, and that's why I think you're seeing so many people at KCPD and the Kansas City Fire Department doing work to address that.
I understand the sentiment, and that was the sentiment that the police chief had given last night, that this is not Kansas City. But the second part of his sentence is part of the reason why it has become that. So the gun violence in this city in particular is out of control, and he knows it. And so do other people around Kansas City know it. But I do think, the NFL will at least have a very serious meeting about it. Up until this point, it's not that there had never been a shooting in or around a championship. You had mentioned the Denver Nuggets after they had won in like the post-winning celebratory stuff.
Out on the streets.
Out on the streets, not during the parade. But I think the NFL will look at what if we just did it like a rally at the stadium with 80,000 people that have to go through a metal detector just like anybody attending an NFL game. And that would be a shame that we have to take away a celebratory moment that's supposed to be an incredible thing for the city, and was. All the way up until that moment was, Gold, an incredible moment for this city again. For the same reasons we talked about on the air yesterday. Wow, look at them. 3 and 5 years, everyone gathering, 1 million people in the city all celebrating together. This will make the NFL look at their parade policy and whether or not shrinking it, but making it more organized or structuring it in a different way, or doing what like the Bucks did, right? Where it's a parade, but they're just on boats. Like, I know that was COVID related.
Yeah,
but do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a way to shrink it.
Yeah, look, I think we would all like to continue having these parades in Kansas City, but it is a conversation that is going to happen. And it sounds like, based on what Nate Taylor was telling us, he's heard already, maybe the NFL is already considering talking about and what that looks like. And yeah, we would love to continue to celebrate with 800,000, 1 million other Kansas Cityans the way we have. And we have had 3 other parades, I should say, without incident. But we know that, unfortunately, it takes one tragedy for sometimes there to be a pivot and a change. When we look at the parade aspect of it, is it something that has to be taking place at Arrowhead in the future? I don't know. I'm just talking out loud here. Is that the next step where there are metal detectors, and so you could have it at Arrowhead? Yeah, there's only 70,000 people there. We know the NFL
metal detectors getting to Union Station for NFL draft.
NFL draft had metal detectors. Is there a way where there's that also, though, was a limited amount of people? It wasn't 800,000. It also was more than 70,000, though. But is that the next path? But then you're not even having a parade, right? Because you can't possibly secure all of Grant Street and have people entering.
There was a police chase off Grand for a parade 4 years ago, whatever it was, right? The very first parade, there was a police chase coming down Grand.
I believe that they will likely continue having parades the way we have them currently, but it is definitely a conversation that has to happen. As multiple people have pointed out today, we all know the Boston Marathon bombing. The Boston Marathon still happens. They didn't cancel the Boston Marathon because of that. But there clearly has to be some more thought into what can be done. In this case, it sounds like, according to the Kansas City Police Department, they are saying that it was a dispute involving multiple individuals that ultimately prompted somebody or multiple people to open fire, and with no regard whatsoever for life at all around them, clearly. And that's why we're sitting here today continuing to talk about one of the worst days in the city's history that should have been a huge celebration and was until around, 1:55 or so. We're coming up on less than 2 hours from 24 hours of the event occurring.
If you missed it earlier on Fesco in the Morning, Scott Parks, who works over at KMBZ, he's been covering Kansas City news for a very long time. He had said he wasn't trying to necessarily rank, but when you have these situations, you run into the what does this compare to relative to a tragedy specific to this city, right? Where you think of it as being a Kansas City-based tragedy that unfortunately we'll all have to live with for a very long time. I mean, he mentioned the Hyatt collapse and and the firefighters who unfortunately died in the late 80s due to the arson. And it's just gosh, and then, the more you think about it, you're like, yes, this is going to be one of the biggest tragedies in this
it's an event
city's
that
history.
We're all going to remember for the rest of our lives. I mean, it was an awful day in Kansas City. And there's a lot of anger and frustration and sadness, of course, coming from that. But when you have something occur where schools were closed for the most part all across Kansas City. I mean, they're just about everybody. I know there's always a few. Just about everybody had no school.
It's preschool was open, but my daughter's elementary school was closed.
And so you had people taking their kids, some of them for the first time, to a parade to celebrate. And I keep thinking about the image that we were joking about at the beginning of our show yesterday, the 10 o'clock hour, when we were waiting for the parade really to start, which was kids had brought Nerf footballs and regular footballs or whatever as well, and they're playing catch across the barricades to the other side of Grand, and they're throwing it up to one balcony of the condos across the street from us when we're doing our show, and everybody's chanting and cheering on the person to throw it up the next flight, the next level of the balcony, and all that. Just pure joy and everybody innocent fun, right? What you should be able to do as a kid, or really as anybody, but certainly as a child. And then to see the day end up with children harmed with this terrible, senseless act of violence is horrific. And we're all talking this thing out together today. And I think all of Kansas City is heartbroken by the events. And I don't know what the next parade looks like, celebration. There's a very good chance we're going to have another celebration at some point in the next decade, because the Chiefs are going to be winning a lot of football games still going forward. Heck, the Royals had a parade in 2015. You never know. You pick any of the franchises in the area, and there's a chance you're going to have another big-time event. And as the mayor said in the audio you played, Cody, obviously there's a St. Patrick's Day parade. Now, it won't have a million people like this did, but it's going to have a lot of people, and there's going to be a lot of people maybe that were planning on going to that parade that are going to choose not to, since how recent it will be to this particular event. And we can go through and talk about changes that need to happen and things like that. We'll take your calls in just a little bit, 913-586-7610. But there has to be some conversation about things that people don't want to hear. That there's a reality of what is going on in this city, and there's a reality of what just happened at a championship parade, and whether or not you can just be status quo. You can't have status quo. Something has to change.
Failed to protect children is the most upsetting thing of all of it. They're kids, man. Half of the people who were injured in this last night, at least according to the updated reporting, are children. And school shootings and everything that has come of these things. It's we have to protect kids. We can't protect children. What's the point of any of it? That's at least, let's just start there before we get any further in the rest of this dialogue and the conversation. I understand that people will always want to, have an argument over these things. But it's just the little simple things of all of the, people Gold kids all of them are down there just to celebrate parade. Not being able to protect them is what feels like such a massive failure in this. Children shouldn't have to be comforted by Andy Reid in order to feel like they were safe in a moment that clearly wasn't safe down at Union Station.
913-586-7610. Let's go out to Ken in Prairie Village, who joins us here on Cody and Gold.
Hey, I just want to shoot out some condolences and heartfelt love for those people that were involved in this incident. But from there, I just want to say, this is not like a Kansas City parade problem. This is a Kansas City problem. People get shot all the time. We can't stop parades just because a few weirdos start acting out and doing dumb shit.
We got to drop you. Sorry, you cursed there. I apologize. Everything else, I was going to let you keep going, but I'm sorry. I know you just probably said it just casually, but got to dump you there. Apologize.
I got close a couple times today, too, man.
It's all
cool.
good. I appreciate the call. We only cut you off because of that. I would have let you keep going, but unfortunately, when the current night, hey, out of all days today, trust me, easier than ever.
I'm angry too. I get it.
For a curse word to fly, but we still have to dump it. I apologize there. Let's go 913-586-7610. Josh and KC, you join us here now on Cody and Gold.
Hey guys, appreciate you taking my phone call. Send out my condolences as well, and my thanks to the paramedics and first responders treating people, fans obviously too, helping each other out. But I don't really want to get too political or arguing at all. But I mean, when is all this stuff gonna happen? When is all this stuff just gonna stop? I mean, it happens every single day, not only in Kansas City, but in the United States as well. And I don't really know if you guys recall the interview, the time when Steve Kerr, the Golden State Warriors coach, was up at the podium. And he was very livid and expressing his thoughts about, I forget what shooting took place before.
Unfortunately, that sentence, it speaks to it a little bit right there.
Yeah, and I mean, I just feel like it goes in an endless cycle. And, obviously people in Kansas City who are closer with the city are going to remember this for a lot longer of time. But I just feel like it's going to be not talked about in, the next couple of weeks. Everyone's just going to forget about it. And then maybe, a few months down the road, it's going to happen again. And then same thing, thoughts and condolences and prayers and all that stuff. And I don't really know what there is to do with a change, and yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. I just wish there was a solution. That's why I love Kansas City so much, because everyone's here for each other and everyone loves to rally with each other. And I don't know. I just wish more action would be taken to solving these horrific events. So appreciate you guys taking my phone call. Have a good one.
Of course, you too, Josh. Josh in Kansas City, 913-586-7610. It is a horrific cycle, a horrific cycle that we've been in for a long time. That is for sure.
Concerning how used to it you get. I know that. There's been a mass shooting.
Well, there was another couple shootings yesterday, not just in Kansas. I mean, high school in Atlanta yesterday. I believe 4 individuals were shot, if I'm not mistaken, down at a high school in Atlanta. 913-586-7610. We'll continue to take your phone calls. I do also want to play a pretty incredible account of what happened yesterday with one of the individuals that tackled one of the alleged suspects that joined Carrington yesterday. Tony, I want to play that for you guys. We'll also, as I said, take your calls. This is Cody and Gold on 610 Sports Radio.
You're listening to Cody and Gold. Don't miss the Chiefs Red Half Hour every weekday starting at 11:30 on your official broadcast partner of the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
Texting enrolls you in recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Leaving for the gym so early?
I'm ready to go.
Since you started taking Nugenix Total T, you've been acting like when we met in our 20s.
I feel like myself again. Lower testosterone after turning 40 slowed me down. Nugenix Total T has been a game changer for me.
What is it about Nugenix Total T that's different?
Well, it's a patented key ingredient called Testofen. It boosts free and total testosterone to help you get back the drive and energy from your youth. It's backed by 5 clinical studies.
I've seen the huge difference it's made for you in the gym, at work, and in the bedroom.
I'm so glad I sent them a text for my complimentary bottle. Text ROCK to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. Nugenix is the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and we'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever. Absolutely free. Text ROCK to 321-321. That's ROCK to 321-321.
We'll buy your car for its original base MSRP when you upgrade to a new or used car at Volkswagen Lease Summit. Only deducting for mileage, manufacturer incentives, and any damage. Your car is worth thousands more than you think. Cash in today. Visit VWLeaseSummit.com.
2012 and newer. See dealer for details.
It's O Rewards Bonus Points Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Shop in-store or online to earn points and get rewarded at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly
Auto Parts. When a cold keeps you up, try NyQuil Severe Honey Flavor. The nighttime, sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, Honeylicious, best sleep with a cold medicine. Powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a dreamy honey taste to give your body the rest it needs to get that cold gone. Wake up refreshed, feeling relieved after enjoying the delicious flavor of NyQuil Severe Honey. NyQuil Severe Honey Flavor, use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
It's O Rewards Bonus Points Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Shop in-store or online to earn points and get rewarded at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You know where you'd never run into a professor who didn't know your name and didn't know your skill set? Over at Centric. Centric.com/610. The small class sizes and the flexible scheduling is what can get you into that new career in IT in as little as 4 months.
Yeah, it's 4 months, too. We were just talking like the grind of a long,
I probably went to that class for 4 months and never got credit.
Yeah, 4 months is how quickly you can find a better path, frankly. Find a career that you like. We've mentioned, a few weeks ago, if you've been busy this winter season working outside and dealing with all the weather, and maybe you just had enough. You want something new. You want to find more stability in your life. IT is a great option for you. It's why we recommend you call up and go to centric.com/610 and call up our friend Russ Mondry.
I know so many of you have been working outside in these elements and you're like, I can't. Like it had just been -10 for all those days and polar vortexes. You really can get that new career. And whether it be in whatever field you want to work in, I think that's what's nice. They need IT in sports. They need IT in career service. They need it in so many different areas. And because they work with those 1,500 companies to hire local graduates, you can go there. Get to centric.com/610. Let our guy Russ Mondry know that you're interested in a career in IT.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Some people just know bundling with Allstate means big savings. Just like they know the right ingredient means big flavor. They know honey on pizza is where it's at. And olive oil on ice cream is the cherry on top. And they know when you bundle home and auto with Allstate, you can save up to 25%.
Bundled savings vary by state and are not available in every state. Saving up to 25% is the countrywide average of the maximum available savings off the home policy. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
We're the Hellsberg Wedding Band, and this is for the lovers out there. Ooh, gonna propose riding on a horse, wearing a tuxedo, shirtless of course. That Hellsberg diamond will dazzle her eye, and she'll say yes. Well, then she'll cry. Now put your shirt back on, guys. For over 100 years, Hellsberg has been customizing engagement rings of the highest quality. Plus, with Hellsberg's transparent pricing, you know you're getting the best price. Find her ring at a Hellsberg store near you or at Hellsberg.com.
Advent Health welcomes the KC Golf Show February 23rd through the 25th at the Overland Park Convention Center. See Tom Watson with Watson Links. Register today for a chance to win a 4-pack of tickets on 610 Sports Radio's contest page.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Brakes? We can save you 15% on that. We have OE quality Duralast brake pads and rotors in stock, ready for pickup or delivery. We also have calipers, brake fluid, tools, and anything else you'll need to do the job right. When you get Duralast pads and rotors together, you'll save 15%. It's just part of what makes us America's #1 brakes destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. So minivans, sedans, JDMs, roll out. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. And with eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
At the UPS Store, we know this upcoming holiday is when things can get busy for small business owners.
Exactly. My to-do list and I don't take days off.
That's why you can count on us to be open and ready to help with every small business need, whether it's packing and shipping or if it's just to check your mailbox.
That's almost everything on my to-do list. My list and I can take the day off.
Your local, the everything to help you be unstoppable store, the UPS Store.
Be unstoppable. The UPS store locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours may vary. See Center for details.
Timmy, everybody. Great job. Next up, we have Samantha.
10 times better performance can make a big difference. Castrol Edge Motor Oil gives your engine 10 times better high-temperature performance. Castrol Edge, better oil for maximum performance. Now through March 4th, get 5 quarts of Castrol Edge or Edge High Mileage Full Synthetic and an oil filter for $36.99, only at AutoZone.
Claim based on Sequence 3H test versus API SP test limits.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Back here on Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp with you. Q producing the show today. Here in about 25 minutes, we'll be joined by Jackson Kurtz, reporter for Channel 9, who was there around Union Station throughout the entire day. Get his perspective. I believe he also, if I'm not mistaken, was at one of the local area hospitals as well, getting information. So we'll just get his perspective. And that's really what we're all doing today, is talking through this and everybody's reaction and really if you were at Union Station as well and what you saw. And now, frankly, the conversations that you're having with, in some cases, maybe your kids or what your conversations are with coworkers as we're all trying to get through what was a horrific day in Kansas City's history. And let me just fill you in again if you missed it and you're just joining us for the first time today. Just the new information that has come out today. We did carry the Kansas City Police Department press conference earlier today. Police Chief Stacey Graves said that 23 people, now not 22, but 23 people were actually wounded in the shooting in the age range between 8 and 47. Half were under the age of 16. One person, unfortunately, has been confirmed to have been killed by the gunfire. 3 individuals detained, 2 of which are juveniles. They also mentioned at the press conference that multiple firearms were recovered during this. Investigators still asking for your help, though. If you were a witness, if you got cell phone footage, if you were also a victim of the violence, they have a dedicated hotline that is established, 816-413-3477. There's also resources throughout Kansas City for those that need to talk to somebody. And that's, again, we're also opening up the phone lines too. But if you need to talk to a professional, there are resources in Kansas City. For example, a number we have referenced throughout the entire football season as one of our Red Friday sponsors is ComCare, 988. Dial 988. It's a 24/7 text, call, and chat, suicide crisis lifeline. There's also something that you might not be as familiar with, but it's very important in the area. It's called Y-Chat. That is a 24/7 text, call, and chat youth violence prevention support line. That's 816-799-1720. And Cody, I know you've done a lot of work with the Community Blood Center. They also, if you're asking how can you help immediately in the aftermath of this, the Community Blood Center, you can go to their website, type in your zip code. It'll tell you the nearest donation center.
Especially if you're like me and you're the universal donor, they could absolutely need, I know everybody doesn't know their blood type. I don't know if we ever sorted if you know yours, Gold.
I don't.
But you can still donate blood even if you don't. They could use it across the board. And our friends over at the Battle Within as well, they had mentioned to me, specifically, if you need immediate help, if you're a first responder and you need immediate help, call 988, the same number we just mentioned. But if you're looking for therapeutic services, they offer those for frontline workers free of charge with at least a minimum of 6 sessions. If you go to the Battle Within's website, thebattlewithin.org, you can get that as well. If you have any questions, you can't remember the numbers we offered you, you can always just send us a DM or send us a text on the show at 913-586-7610. Happy to pass that resource information along. And we want to continue to hear from you as well. 913-586-7610 if you want to recount what you saw down there or how you're feeling after what took place yesterday at Union Station. Happy to hear from you, or at least interested to hear from you and get your thoughts on what that was like from you.
Yeah, we're all part of Kansas City. This is a terrible 24 hours, almost 24 hours now since the event happened at Union Station, and it does speak to a broader problem that exists in many, many, many cities across the country, and certainly Kansas City is not immune to that, unfortunately, and that is definitely part of the situation of yesterday as well. I do want to play a little bit of an unbelievable eyewitness account, and one of the individuals that tackled one of the alleged suspects. The video that I'm sure many of you have seen. It's been out there on every news outlet, every social media platform of someone and multiple people tackling this individual. Tony was the caller's name, and he was in the video tackling the suspect, and Carrington had him on the show, and you got to listen to this. It's a pretty stunning eyewitness account of what occurred yesterday.
Basically happened about 10, 15 feet from me. I was at the intersection right where the initial shooting started happening. Kind of dropped to my knee right when it first started. A couple people around us also started to do that as well. Didn't know if it was fireworks or gunshots at first. And then I just kind of know from just my experience, I know what, continuous gunshots sound like, and it just sounded like gunshots. And then I see a guy laying on the ground with, bullets in him, and then everyone's kind of getting away. So I kind of start running away just to kind of get everyone out of the scene. And then as I'm running away, I literally run into one of the suspects that was in my picture on the video, but also the other guy that had his face shot off, or his jaw was shot off. I literally ran right into them. Kind of was startled at first, didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if he was like a victim or if he was, part of the shooting or anything, but it just kind of looked fishy. So I kind of kept my eye on him as like all the chaos was going on, and I saw them pass a bag. I saw the guy that got shot in the face pass a bag to these three kids or whatever they were, and they go in between the semi trucks and looked like they were messing with something and hiding stuff in their bags. And then they had a big Carhartt on, and he was kind of hiding something. It looked like he was hiding something, so it looked just suspicious to me. I went up to one of the nearest sheriffs that I could find, and I tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, "Hey, man, these guys look kind of suspicious. Could you follow me? I at least wanted to talk to him." And then we started walking up to him, and then as we started walking up to him, they start backpedaling, and then they just take off from us. And me and the cop both basically take off after him. I had my eye on him, so I'm just trying to alert people in the crowd like this guy might be armed, dangerous, so I'm yelling at people around me. And you can see me in the video just pointing at this guy, tackle this guy. This is the guy, at least that I can see that, might be involved. And I was just trying to help out as best as I could, man. I just didn't want anybody else to get hurt. And I was, thankful for the guys that also helped step up and tackle. Not everyone's planning on doing something like that in the middle of, going to a parade.
So that was Tony, one of the many heroes yesterday that helped out law enforcement to tackle this alleged suspect as well. But to hear him describe how he thought it out, basically, and why he put two and two together and wisely notified law enforcement and then just took off after this guy. I mean, think about that. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, later on in the interview with Carrington, he explained, I think he has some military experience, this individual. I believe he served served our country. And so shout out to him, and not only for yesterday's actions, but obviously for what he's done. You could tell that his instincts just took over there.
Yeah, it's crazy to just like, well, this person looks suspicious, and I'm going to make sure this officer knows. I can see that, but then to actually be a person who chases them down and helps secure them. There were a lot of people there that were not law enforcement who...
Oh, majority of the people, who
were doing these type of things to help others. I mean, it's crazy. Good for that guy. Don't let that say.
Incredible.
We were talking about this at the parade. Like, don't let Nick Allegretti don't let that guy buy a drink in this town. I also, I saw multiple people say it, Matt Miller, or, others like, just get that guy Chiefs season tickets for life and just, let him be a Chiefs hero forever. It's fine. Give him 50-yard line. Just let that man enjoy his Chiefs fandom forever in a moment in which, panic is real and you should be scared for your life. He stepped up. I mean, and if that's the case, just what an incredible moment.
There were a lot of amazing people that did step up in the middle of this awful shooting, and whether it was Tony, whether it was the other individual that tackled. We also know that you had hundreds of law enforcement that were heading in the opposite direction towards danger while everybody else was running in the other end to try to protect those. We've heard, and we'll play it again, Chiefs players that were comforting children that were fearing for their lives. Yeah. We'll play the Trey Smith interview on Good Morning America this morning. If you missed it, it's hearing him talk about it, how he just grabbed a kid. It's like, "You're coming with me," is how he described it. Like, "I'm protecting you," is incredible to hear. And so we'll play that again coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Reminder, about 15 minutes from now, Jackson Kurtz of Channel 9 will also join us. We'll continue to take your phone calls, 913-586-7610, as Kansas City tries to get through the events of yesterday and to talk this thing out, and something that is going to impact all of us in Kansas City for the rest of our lives. I do want to go out to Ralph in Lee Summit. Ralph, you're on with Cody and Gold.
Well, first of all, I want to kudos to Tony and anybody that acted like him. He's my kind of guy for sure. I actually work. I have a stop down in the Fairfax area, and yesterday I was on my way down there, and about 11 o'clock I was going by I-70 and looked up and saw the masses of people, and there are a lot of people. And the first thing I thought, and this is a sick thing to say, but the first thing I thought is this is just an absolute, it's just an absolute perfect place for a bad actor. And, with that many hundreds of thousands of people around, you gotta believe there's bad actors in the group. This is a perfect place for somebody to do something stupid. And I was just torn apart on my way home when I heard about this. But one of the things I want to say is if we're ever going to stop this, we've got to stop treating these criminals better than the victims. There's got to be a price they pay, and it's got to be equal to or worse than the punishment that they're doling out, or it's never going to stop. If these kids get off of this, whoever they are, if they're found guilty and they get off with a light sentence and people start talking about mental health and all of that crap, I'm just telling you, people need to be held accountable for their actions, period. And when that happens, maybe some of this will slow down.
Ralph, appreciate the call. Ralph in Lee Summit joining us here on Cody and Gold. That's absolutely part of the conversation. That is absolutely part of the conversation to what we were discussing earlier. Yes, this is the event that's going to get all the attention because it was at a Chiefs parade. It was a Super Bowl parade. There was 1 million people there. But if it ends up being what the police to this point have said, Cody, which is a dispute between multiple people, and it wasn't one person that decided to show up and shoot a bunch of people, but it was a dispute, as in the same type of disputes that happen on a daily basis in cities all across the country, something has to happen. And again, I'm not pretending that I have all the solutions to that, but I think that caller and other things you've brought up, Cody, and we've brought up on the show, I think all are part of the equation for what has to be discussed and determine what can act. Because status quo just is not going to work. We found that out over the last decade. Status quo does not work whatsoever with any of this.
Nor has it for, I mean, I can go back to multiple incidents that seem like even a firmer line in the sand than that, in which inaction eventually leads to this. But yeah, of course, can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. I don't want to be used to it. That's not fun. 39 years old, and look, I guess I'm lucky that in America somehow this is only my first time being near a mass shooting. Hooray for me. I made it this long without having to experience even being on the outer circles of it. But yeah, of course. I understand we can't just keep living the same cycle. Very tired. And honestly, what I said earlier was, you're tired and you're sad, but I'm just mad at all of it, that it continues to happen, that there's inaction towards the things that are happening, that reform isn't in place in order to fix these problems, and so on. And then mad at the individuals who chose to take this, this is where you want to take your problems, huh? In front of 1 million people, this is where you want to take your issues. Some of them are juveniles. Half of the victims are juveniles. It is a damn shame, again, as I had said earlier, that children are both involved and were victims of this crime, and that's where the frustration starts. If you can't protect kids, you can't really protect anybody. We know that based on a lot of other things, and it just feels like going back to various, school shootings, done anything to stop that?
Yeah.
We're not moving anywhere closer towards it just because this event took place in Kansas City, which is incredibly frustrating.
913-586-7610. Continue to take your phone calls here on 610 Sports Radio. Let's go out to Travis in Springfield. Travis, you're on Cody and Gold.
Hey, thanks for having me on. And I'll just say, I was not at the parade and the rally. Thought about it, and I just couldn't. I don't do well in big crowds, and I have little kids. And but it got me thinking after the fact. And this is I saw the stats. there have been more mass shootings, and I don't know exactly what that definition is, but more mass shootings in this calendar year than there have been days in this year. And that to me is like breathtaking. And then we'll wake up tomorrow, and then there'll be more that make the news or that won't make the news. Where I'm going with all this is talk about having change, and there's mental health things that go into it. There's a lot of systemic problems that go into it. Talk about things we want to do, like right now. Yeah, let's go to the community blood center. Yes, all good things. Folks, a lot of this stuff happens how, like, I'm very down the middle on this. A lot of this happens like how we vote. And if you really want to make changes, you want to get funding for school system to do certain things, to have better school systems, to gun reform. Well, you better call up your county commissioners, your governors. Both the governors were there, on the scene. I know they both have stances on things like that. We have amendment rights. But if they don't make any changes, they could have been impacted by it. I mean, I'm not trying to get political, but that's where a lot of it starts, is how we vote, how we give our time of ourselves. It'd be really interesting to see how we got a lot of really influential celebrities, athletes in the area who were at the event. How are they going to use their platforms? How are they going to stick their neck out and advocate and be a part of the change? But at the end of the day, it comes down to all of us living in the city and the surrounding areas. Because I tell you, it's just going to happen again, and maybe we'll be desensitized to it because it's always the same thing, just a different day. It's very sad, very angering. Heart goes out to everybody impacted by it. That's all I got. Really appreciate you guys opening up the lines.
There you go. Travis joining us here on Cody and Gold, 913-586-7610. And like I said, we're going to let people just talk it out, not pretending to have all the answers to solve. Not just, again, it's not about yesterday. It's obviously it's a much bigger issue in this country. But talking this out, because a lot of times, whether it's at a professional or not, but being able to just voice your opinion on something as awful as yesterday, sometimes it is therapeutic. Just being able to talk it out and not feel like you're bottling it up inside, but being able to just talk to people about it. And frankly, I know maybe I speak for you. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Like doing 4 hours, like I got some text earlier, like, man, that's gonna be a really tough show for you. Oh, it's definitely not the type of show we ever want to do. I'll tell you that. But at the same time, talking it out is better than me just sitting at home, talking it out with you,
Depends
Cody,
on
and
the day.
talking it out with
on my mood.
Talking it out with you and with our listeners and interacting with people. I think it's healthy and it's good to do that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I stand today on and everybody deals with stuff differently too. For some people, actually being by themselves for a little bit is better. Everybody's for me personally, I like to be able to talk it out, and it's better than me just watching TV all day and being frustrated and angry. Being able to talk, I'm definitely still angry, but being able to talk it out on this platform helps for us too.
Yeah, the doom scrolling version of what I was doing last night probably wasn't the healthiest. Certainly did it. It's probably not the healthiest, but I certainly did it. Just depends. I would never tell people how to grieve. People definitely do that in their own way, but if anything, it's just giving you a voice and a platform in which to do it. I would prefer to never do this kind of show. I had brief thoughts last night of just not doing this one because I don't want to. I don't want to have those conversations for 4 consecutive hours. The day after, not even a day after, we're coming up on 24 hours after an event of that magnitude in this city. Giving you a voice, if that helps you a little, or listening to this, if that helps you a little, it's probably worth it.
Look, fortunately, and I hope that it never happens again. Fortunately, this is the first time we've had something directly impacting Kansas City like this in this fashion since you and I have been on the air.
Yeah.
I have been, I think, much like you, I've been in radio for 12 years now, roughly, something like that, and working in other markets. This, unfortunately, is the 6th different type of show where the whole show ended up being about a horrific tragedy in the community, and it's ones that it's 6 too many, but unfortunately, this is something that happens all the time. And I think the caller prior to this was correct. And you can't be immune to it though. And that's the problem is we're in this terrible cycle of eventually the news cycle ends and kind of everybody just waits around and nothing happens. And then we find out 6 months from now or less than that, unfortunately, something else can happen. We don't know where. We don't know what venue. Can it truly, I mean, we've said it truly can happen anywhere. We are way past it'll never happen in this venue. We just had it happen at a parade with 1 million people celebrating a happy day in Kansas City.
Yeah.
We've had it happen at, I don't have to tell you, all the different venues that over the last decade, places you thought were quote-unquote off limits, but not off limits to idiots that have no regard for human life, which is what happened yesterday. Coming up next, someone that was there, Jackson Kurtz from Channel 9. He was there covering the parade. He ended up obviously covering the shooting as well. Want to get his perspective on all of this next here on Cody and Gold.
Cody and Gold, weekdays starting at 10 on 610 Sports Radio and the Odyssey app.
Now is one of the best times to call up Dury Vision and find out if they can help you with your vision goals and needs going forward like they did for me, which was SBK Advanced LASIK. Now I don't use contacts. I don't use glasses anymore. That is one of the things that I regret not doing years and years and years ago. Look, we all put off things. You say, it's going to be too expensive, or I don't know if I'm a candidate. Those were all things that crossed my mind before I went in for my free consultation for Dury Vision. And one, I found out that I was a candidate for LASIK after being told many years before that I wasn't. And if financial issues are the reason for that, they offer financing options, including right now an opportunity to save up to $1,000 off that LASIK procedure with their friends and family discount. It's a program that's normally reserved just for friends and family, but it's open to you as well. You just got to go online to duryvision.com or give them a call at 913-491-3330. That's 913-491-3330 and schedule that free consultation. You can even conduct it virtually over Zoom. That's duryvision.com.
Outdoor America with Tommy Bench, Saturday mornings on 610 Sports Radio at 5 a.m. and the Odyssey app. This week, Tommy answers your questions. Outdoor America, presented by Wholesale Batteries, the right battery the first time.
Hi, it's Trey Smith, and in order for our team to get a victory, we need honesty, teamwork, work ethic, humility, and the golden rule. That's why my truck is from the dealer that embodies all those values, Victory Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. And Victory Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram also supports Giving Hope, whose sole purpose is to feed and clothe the needy in Wyandotte County and beyond. Giving back in the highest integrity, that's how Jeff and his team do business. For your next vehicle, visit or go to VictoryChryslerDodgeJeepRam.com.
The best deals at the pump happen when you shop the aisles of Hy-Vee with help from the first Warn 5 weather team.
This is KCTV5 Chief Meteorologist Luke Doris. Watch KCTV5 Sunday night at 10 for our official high temperature.
Whatever it was on Sunday means you save on Monday with your Hy-Vee Perks card. If the high was 63 degrees, you save 63 cents a gallon when you spend at least $63.
Watch First Warn 5 weather on KCTV5 this Sunday at 10.
Hey, it's Kling. There are many reasons I love Hy-Vee, the great values, the selection, the service, and I love to rack up fuel savers. And you can as well. Shop Hy-Vee on Monday, earn a fuel discount equal to the high temperature on Sunday and the amount you spend. If the high is 68 degrees on Sunday, I'll save 68 cents per gallon when I spend $68 on Monday. Heat up the savings every Monday through April 29th only at Hy-Vee.
Must look up code 80007 at checkout or promo code HEATUP when shopping online. See store for details.
Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. So you can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com/610Bob and shoot your shot. That's FanDuel.com/610Bob. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA and of 610 Sports Radio. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Kansas City is the national football champs.
And Academy Sports and Outdoors has everything you need to celebrate the win. Shop in-store or online for official team shirts, hats, and other licensed gear. All at prices you'll love. New styles are arriving daily. Academy.com.
Look, we all just dealt with these miserable temperatures, -15, -20 wind chill. Maybe you're working in these conditions, which sounds terrible, and you said, you know what? It's time for a new career.
If you've had enough, go to Centric.com/610 and find a new career in IT. Whether it be AI or cloud software, there's so many available options than sitting outside in the temperatures we're dealing with now and doing those jobs. Whether you can't get a check because it's too cold or because it's too cold to physically want to be outside.
Reach out to our buddy Russ now at Centric.com/610.
When something happens to your car, you might say, but what you really need to say is something that can actually help.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
And just like that, State Farm is there to help you file your claim right on the State Farm mobile app. So just remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
State Farm, Bloomington, Illinois.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
1 in 4 car batteries is weak and needs to be replaced. Let our professional parts people test your battery for free at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. When a cold keeps you up, try NyQuil Severe Honey Flavor. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, Honeylicious, best sleep with a cold medicine. Powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a dreamy honey taste to give your body the rest it needs to get that cold gone. Wake up refreshed, feeling relieved after enjoying the delicious flavor of NyQuil Severe Honey. NyQuil Severe Honey Flavor, use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
1 in 4 car batteries is weak and needs to be replaced. Let our professional parts people test your battery for free at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Coach Reed called the play. Pat made a hell of a play, man. I kind of blacked out when I called it.
610 Sports Radio, KCSP Kansas City, WDAF HD2 Liberty. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
1 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp with you. Did want to pass along a little update on information from the police department. Earlier, we had a press conference and mentioned the status of some of the victims, but also the 3 suspects, 2 of which are juveniles. The Greater KC Crime Stoppers now is offering a reward up to $25,000 for any information leading to an arrest or in connection with the shooting. Phone number 816-474-TIPS. Of course, you remain 100% anonymous. It makes you wonder if they, based off of, they have 3 suspects in custody, Cody, if they believe there were other individuals that were actually involved, if they are still seeking information leading to an arrest. They've also already been asking for people, if you have video, if you were near the scene, to continue. I think the FBI has a form online that you can actually submit and upload the video directly there if you're someone, as they try to piece this thing together. And obviously at this point, charges have not been brought forward toward the 3 suspects. Someone that was at the parade and obviously spent a great deal of yesterday into the late hours covering the tragic events here in Kansas City. Jackson Kurtz from KMBC Channel 9 News here in KC. Jackson joins us here on 610 Sports Radio. I appreciate the time. I know you're super busy with this. If you could just walk me through a little bit of yesterday for you and ultimately how the day shifted for all of us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yesterday, it started as a great day for Kansas City. So many people ready to celebrate the back-to-back champions. And it turned so quickly. So where I was, basically, I had a grid view on 20th and Grand. And then getting closer to Union Station once the rally started. We were leaving then, watching it on our phone to go back to our station just to regroup. And we see 7 or 8 police cars zoom past us, followed by 3 or 4 ambulances. One of them was Belton, Missouri, which, whenever you see a non-Kansas City or Jackson County medical or police officer vehicle, you kind of have a going on in your brain. And then, we get told that there's a shooting down at Union Station. So we go down there as close as we possibly could. We're kind of on the back side, so we were close to the federal building there, and it was absolutely chaos. Police were escorting 30 groups of people, probably 20 to 30 groups of people still. This is around this time, I'd say it's like 2:50, 3 o'clock. Excuse me, 20 groups of people just in and out constantly, still officers running to certain areas, long Jackson County Sheriff's deputies with long guns. It looks like there was possibly some federal agents or local agents with police as well running in certain directions. We weren't really sure exactly how many spots there were where the shooting happened. It was still super early on. Lots of shock, absolute shock. People couldn't believe what happened. You think this could happen anywhere. Happened at Independence Center, Oak Park Mall, places like that. But parade celebrating Kansas City Chiefs champions. That's something that was hard for people to really fathom. So it was a fluid situation. So many people confused. So many people trying to find their loved ones. Lots of that. Saw a lot of folks on the phone trying to find family members or other people looking for one another. And then, of course, we get all the updates from officials and healthcare professionals. Right now, there's a press conference with University Health, and then Children's Mercy is going to give a press conference today at 2, just to give us more details about those 11 children that were hurt in this parade. 9 of them were gunshot victims. It's just completely going to be changed from this. They're all expected to physically be okay, but they won't be the same. And then, of course, the other folks who were injured from yesterday's shooting. So hopefully get more updates. Police still trying to, they have 24 hours to make some charges here on some folks. So we know there's 3 people in custody, 2 are juveniles. So still waiting for more details about if there's more people out there they're looking for, just exactly what we need what they need from the public. So it's just a day, a hard day in Kansas City, absolutely hard day. None of us will ever forget what happened.
What was the scene like last night? You were obviously there for the report last night as they announced that it seemed like the children were expected to recover okay at Children's Mercy. What was the feeling like down there as they were giving an update, or what were the families feeling, during that time in which, we were finding out probably half of the victims were children?
Yeah, many of us were so worried, so worried. The worst case scenario, right? Kids being shot and killed at a parade for their favorite team, So we were all just really, really hoping it wasn't going to be that. And then once we were told they were going to be okay, that gave us a little more sense of relief, that they were going to recover from their physical injuries. And I think more than half of them have been released from the hospital. I need to double check that. But it was just tense and horrific thinking of what could possibly have happened to these kids. So once that was announced, definitely had a more of a sense of relief in a day that was hard to even, come to that.
We're talking to Jackson Kurtz of KMBC Channel 9 News here in KC. We're asking everybody that joins us today their perspective on just looking forward as well to future parades. The mayor was asked earlier today about future parades and protocol and how it could be handled. You've covered, I imagine, the St. Patrick's Day parade here in Kansas City in your time here. That parade is going to take place, we know, next month, right, in the middle of March or so. What's your sense and feeling around that event and other events like this of this magnitude?
I think it's like most things when we have a shooting. We can't stop celebrating. We cannot stop enjoying the good things in our community that makes us Kansas City. The St. Patrick's Day parade, one of the best places in the country that holds a St. Patrick's Day celebration with all of our Irish heritage here in the city. So it's going to happen probably, what the mayor said. But I think it needs to happen. I think there's going to be people scared to go. I mean, that's the reality is too, that there's going to be people who were there that will never be able to go to a parade, take their kids somewhere. But I think it's like everything else that you go to a movie theater, you go to the mall, you're going to go to these places that you usually go to, and you have to continue to enjoy things. That makes life really hard, and that's just not fair to us as humans to be able to not enjoy things. But definitely will leave some scars for some folks. The numbers could look different for sure. People could have a different mentality, but I think it will happen. I think security definitely will be amped up. Plainclothes officers, we may have officers brought in from different areas possibly, but that definitely will make it different. But I think there will still be celebrations in Kansas City for years to come.
I know you might not have the answer just yet, but based on the other people in the newsroom, do you get any sense of when these charges might be filed? We know they only have 24 hours in which to do it. We're approaching 24 hours since the incident. I think your station put out like a timeline that suggested this incident took place less than 20 seconds after Mitch Holthus stopped speaking at the podium after reviewing the footage. So we're right near that window. Do you think that charges will be filed soon?
Police have done a good job of giving us updates throughout the day yesterday and today, so they very well may give us more info. I know that Jackson County Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker was on the scene yesterday. She usually is when these bigger events happen. So they very well could come down, right now, any moment now, or within the next couple of hours. But like you said, it really happened. Video from people on the scene were showing me immediately after the music played, people were singing. There's like a 20-second delay, people singing Red Kingdom, another Kansas City song, and then scattering of people from the shots fired. So they could come down any moment now. We just are still waiting, like everybody else, to see exactly when that will be.
Jackson Kurtz, Channel 9 News here in Kansas City. I know yesterday and today continues to be a tough day for everybody in KC and a busy one for you. So we appreciate the time, perspective, and glad you and the crew are all safe.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
There you go. Jackson Kurtz, KMBC 9 News here in KC. While we were talking to Jackson, as he mentioned, there is a press conference, or was a press conference going on. I want to update everybody. This comes from Dr. Mark Steele. He's been the representative speaking for University Health on the status of some of the parade victims just at their hospital. 8 victims, 5 dismissed last night, which is great news. 3 do remain, 1 stable, 2 are in critical condition, but improving in the ICU. So progress on both the victims at Children's Mercy earlier today, and then this is regards to the victims that are at University Health.
Good update. Obviously still a long way to go, but the question will remain. I'm assuming if you stay tuned today, Carrington will have the answer for you. I know at 2:00, he's planning on covering the press conference over there at Children's Mercy, in which hopefully they'll continue to have more good updates like the one last night on the health and safety of the children who were in their care after the shooting. But hopefully we'll get more information about whether or not they've got enough evidence to charge. They've obviously got 3 suspects in custody, as you'd mentioned, 2 of which they've labeled as juveniles. We'll find out as day goes on because they only have 24 hours to either release or charge.
From when they were taken in custody, though.
Yes.
It doesn't
not
mean
from the
it's
event.
not
Not
at
2 o'clock on the nose. It could be 3 o'clock. It could be 3:30. I don't know exactly when they were booked. But they get 24 hours after that moment to make a decision. It really was. I think it was KMBC. They went back and reviewed the footage. It's like 11 seconds after Mitch Holthus stopped talking. So you and I, Mitch Holthus stopped talking. We're like, talk to you guys later. put down our headsets while we were packing up the equipment and we see the first few cars go by. That's probably right when the incident took place, Gold. And then after I had left the hotel, there was a stream. I've got a video of 20 cars going by. At least,
yeah.
And it was more than that. I think I stopped the video probably after that amount where you're like, geez, these guys, and where I was, because I wasn't paying attention to my phone, I didn't know that anything was going on. I think my initial thought was, oh, they must just be heading down to Union Station to help down there, and they just go kind of fast because, Grand's closed down. That was my initial thought on it, which is sad, and I'll probably never think that way again. I imagine for the rest of my life, I'll just assume something horrible has happened based on what happened yesterday. But, my initial thought was just like, well, that's a lot of cars, not what's going on down at Union Station.
Yeah, huge police presence, obviously, and we were fortunately a ways away from Union Station as we were on 20th and Grand doing our show yesterday. We were at least a 7-minute walk, I would say, from where the incident took place. But they still at that time they didn't know. So fortunately, and one of the police officers from KC Mo was near Hotel Indigo where we were at, and they actually did lock down the hotel for a very brief point in time until they knew for sure it was contained to Union Station. And then after that, everybody started walking back north up Grand. And I think there was a lot of people there that didn't even, still to that point, had no clue what was happening. Heck, we've seen the video right there at Union Station. There was a big chunk of people that had confusion, had no idea what was happening. I appreciate Jackson Kurtz from giving us some more insight on his perspective and what he witnessed yesterday. And as they continue to do a phenomenal job covering it as well.
Yesterday, one of the things that came out of this was at least some of the rewarding stories of what took place with some Chiefs players in the incident. Trey Smith, there was a written story out about how he had helped a kid, but he actually joined Good Morning America today and talked about the incident and just exactly what happened with him right at the moment.
Just remember those security guards just ushering us through the doors quickly, just saying, come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. It's okay, this is not a joke, it's a life or death situation.
Smith forced to run for his life, finding shelter in a closet, guiding as many people as he could to safety.
Right before I run in there, there's like a little kid in front of me, so I just grab him, just yank him, and just tell him, you're hopping in here with me, buddy. So I don't know how many people there were in the closet, maybe 20 plus. One of my teammates, my long snapper, James Winchester, was very instrumental in helping keep people calm. We end up getting the green light to be able to get out of there. We end up walking to the buses.
The Chiefs team buses is soon filled with frightened bystanders trying to escape the madness outside.
This little boy was with his father. He's just a little hysterical. He just panicked. He's scared. He doesn't know what's going on. And, I had the WWE belt on me the entire parade. And, I was thinking, man, what can I do to help him out? I just handed him the belt. Hey, buddy, you're the champion. No one's going to hurt you anywhere. No one's going to hurt you, man. We got your back. We just start talking about wrestling. Who's your favorite wrestler? What was your favorite wrestling match? And just little things like that just to take his mind off of it. He was looking out the window and he was seeing people, just reacting away. They were trying to get out of that situation. So I'm like, here you go, buddy. This is yours. Man, so again, no one's going to hurt you. You're here with us. Thank you for protecting, buddy. You're going to be okay. You're going to be all right.
Smith is still in shock that a day of joy could turn so violent.
I'm pretty angry because it's senseless violence. Someone lost their life today. You have children that are injured. You have children that are traumatized. I'm hurting for, the families and the people who got impacted, the city of Kansas City.
That was Good Morning America. Earlier today, Trey Smith, Chiefs right guard, comforting a Chiefs fan and a boy that obviously was fearful for his life and was confused to hear him just say, yeah, I just grabbed this kid and said, you're coming with me. I've got you, basically. I mean, that's incredible stuff, man.
Wrestling matches with a kid.
That's incredible stuff. And then, he said James Winchester was a big help. And let's not forget, someone pointed this out earlier in the show, and it's you got to remember what James Winchester is thinking in that moment. If you're even thinking at all, right? You're probably just reacting. No. But also now, remember, James Winchester was it a year ago, or excuse me, it's been, I guess, 5 years ago now, at least, if not more. His dad,
his father, yeah.
His father was killed. I think it was actually 2017, 2016. But his dad was killed outside of an airport, was just shot and killed. And so I'm sure that, that yesterday had to have brought back some
reopened some wounds.
Yeah, so that's terrible.
There was also an account from Gabe Wallace, credit to Sam McDowell, who had spoken to him down at the scene. He was talking about how Andy Reid, he's a high school sophomore, right? I think it's Shawnee Mission East, and Gabe Wallace talked about what Andy Reid was able to do for him.
Like the security guard was like, get over the damn fence right now. There's a shooter. We hop over. I hit my face on accident. But then, so I headed in there. I had no idea where he was. I headed in there. There's like an FBI agent named Megan. She's like, all right, are you okay? Just like, find your friends and everything. But then, so I just headed all the way over here. But there was like second shots in Union Station. And she's like, get out of there right now. So we had no idea. But it's just...
You heard shots inside Union Station too?
That's what I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I heard shots in Union Station. They might have been a little bit outside. I'm not sure though.
What did you initially hear? Was it 1, 2? What did you initially hear?
I'm pretty sure when I was standing outside, I heard just like boom, boom, like real quick. And then the security guard was like, get over the barricade, get in Union Station, or just like get over here right now. Just come on, let's go. And then so we went in Union Station. I had no idea if my friends were okay. Like, it's terrible. Like,
yeah, I mean, in the original story, you know, like it said, wasn't sure if his friends were okay, and Andy was comforting him. It's a terrifying moment. It was nice that there were a lot of people, because people handle those things differently, like fight or flight, right? Either you handle it weirdly calm or you freak out, and both are very common responses because people handle those things differently. You know, Andy and Trey and these other guys stepping up, James Winchester, according to Trey Smith and all that stuff. I imagine this is a moment that stuck with some Chiefs players for a very, very long time. They all were out on social media last night. Yeah, at various times, MVS was trying to figure out if there's a way that he could help the kids at Children's Mercy. I think I had saw Chris Jones had sent out a post last night that said, I'm devastated about this news. I'm praying for the families affected.
Yeah, MVS in particular, his tweet was in response to the 12 patients that were being treated at Children's Mercy. And again, the positive update on this is that there's only 3, it sounds like, victims still at the hospital. Although we're going to get another press conference here in about 40 minutes. That'll be carried live here on 610 Sports Radio. But MVS did send out a tweet last night in response to that, saying, any chance anyone can help me get in touch with these kids or families, first off, I want to make sure they're doing okay, but would love to help them out any way I can and get them some stuff from the team to help them with the recovery. And I would imagine through Children's Mercy and the Chiefs, they'll be able to eventually put him in contact. In the days to come, I'm imagining the Chiefs as an organization and players, there will be plenty of that based off of what sounds like, again, some amazing people involved in the organization and players. We forget sometimes that, you hear from Trey Smith, and everybody that interacts with Trey Smith says he might be one of the best human beings around. And that was before yesterday, by the way. Like, everybody's been very complimentary of just who he is as a person, and then add to how he handled yesterday and how this team, deep down, they're still normal people. They're superstar athletes that are incredible at what they do, but they all have hearts as well, and clearly can, just like all of us, react and feel, and seeing kids frightened or in danger and being able to comfort them in that spot, like hopefully anybody else would do as well. It's a hell of a story that Trey Smith told to Good Morning America this morning.
A reminder, if you need help, support lines are available. You can dial 988. It's a 24/7 call chat. Crisis Lifeline, it's available to you. If you want a youth violence prevention support line and need help with that, 816-799-1720, or just text YChat to that same number. I'd mentioned earlier the Battle of Thin's got some services available for first responders who might be in that, or just, if you need, if you find tomorrow, the next day, 3 weeks from now, if it's still sticking with you, the events, whether you were right down there at Union Station or not, you don't have to have, or not down there at all, and just saw what happened to your city. I would always encourage you to seek therapy if needed. You'll know if it's needed. Those feelings inside will win, and you will know that it's needed. But there's plenty of help out there and available if you need it. And I would just tell you constantly to seek out those services. Those numbers are up on, I think, the 610 page, Quentin Lucas's page, ours. Yeah. So if you need any of those lines, feel free to reach out via DM or on the text line at 913-586-7610. Or just, check some of the social media channels or the local news agencies. They should have those available for you.
All right, coming up next, we had a chance to check in with former Chiefs wide receiver Danon Hughes. He was part of the Chiefs ambassador group that was there, so along with Sean Barber and some of the other former Chiefs that were there celebrating with the organization, celebrating with the city, and he told us about his experience being underneath Union Station at one point. You'll hear that conversation coming up next.
Cody and Gold. Watch the show on YouTube by subscribing to the @610 Sports KC channel. 610 Sports Radio.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
I'm Jeff Davis, owner of Volkswagen Lease Summit. During our cash-in sale, we're offering you the most cash for your trade and the lowest prices Volkswagen has to offer.
We'll buy your car for its original base MSRP when you upgrade to a new or used car at Volkswagen Lease Summit. Only deducting for mileage, manufacturer incentives, and any damage. Cash in today. Plus, we have leases starting at $239 a month or rates as low as 1.9% for 48 months.
Turn your car into cash. Visit VWLeaseSummit.com.
Financing through VCI on approved credit. Call 816-841-7383 for details.
You know where you'd never run into a professor who didn't know your name and didn't know your skill set? Over at Centric. Centric.com/610. The small class sizes and the flexible scheduling is what can get you into that new career in IT in as little as 4 months.
Yeah, it's 4 months, too. We were just talking like the grind of a long,
I probably went to that class for 4 months and never got credit.
Yeah, 4 months is how quickly you can find a better path, frankly. Find a career that you like. We've mentioned, a few weeks ago, if you've been busy this winter season working outside and dealing with all the weather, and maybe you just had enough. You want something new. You want to find more stability in your life. IT is a great option for you. It's why we recommend you call up and go to centric.com/610 and call up our friend Russ Mondry.
I know so many of you have been working outside in these elements and you're like, I can't. Like it had just been -10 for all those days and polar vortexes. You really can get that new career. And whether it be in whatever field you want to work in, I think that's what's nice. They need IT in sports. They need IT in career service. They need it in so many different areas. And because they work with those 1,500 companies to hire local graduates, you can go there. Get to centric.com/610. Let our guy Russ Mondry know that you're interested in a career in IT.
Football plus bowling plus bar equals Bowling Warehouse, Kansas City. Come take your best shot at KC's newest, funkiest sports entertainment venue off 435 and State Line. Bowling Warehouse is a mashup of football and bowling, drinks and fun. Guys, girls, anyone can play. Come learn about bowling, the bonkhorn, and the rules that keep you on your toes and play the game that's sweeping across America. Bowling Warehouse is the place to host private and corporate events. Bowling Warehouse, you have to see it for yourself on 435 and State Line.
Hey, living in the country or in a small town has its benefits. You know your neighbors, you got breathable air, life is good, but slow internet is kind of the way it goes out here. Your video calls are laggy, websites load at a snail's pace. Well, there's one company that can help us folks out here. They're called Whisper, like whisper without the H. They bring high-speed internet to rural places. No contracts, no hidden fees, with a satisfaction guarantee or your money back. Check them out at whisperisp.com.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Some people just know bundling with Allstate means big savings. Just like they know the right ingredient means big flavor. They know honey on pizza is where it's at. And olive oil on ice cream is the cherry on top. And they know when you bundle home and auto with Allstate, you can save up to 25%.
Bundled savings vary by state and are not available in every state. Saving up to 25% is the countrywide average of the maximum available savings off the home policy. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-973-7809 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-973-7809. That's 800-973-7809. What do you have to lose? Call 800-973-7809. Again, 800-973-7809.
So sticky.
At Hannah's Organic Honey, business may be sweet, but they need an e-commerce queen bee to lead the hive.
Okay, these jars are going to Jakarta. Oh, wait a minute. Does that say Jackson?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Schedule virtual interviews and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit GetJim.com.
You can change your career in just 4 months. Go to Centric.com/610.
You're working outside right now. These temperatures are absolutely miserable, and maybe you're thinking about moving inside into a brand new career.
It is cold, and that new career in IT can be found at Centric.com/610. Stop wondering if you're getting a check or whether you want to keep working in this, and start your new IT career today.
Back here on Cody and Gold, a reminder coming up in about a half hour. Not only will we hand things off to Seat on the Drive, but there's expected to be a press conference at Children's Mercy with the latest status of some of the victims of yesterday's tragic shooting at Union Station. We will play our conversation that we had with former Chiefs wide receiver Danon Hughes in a second. I do want to pass this along because I think this is neat to see the support. The KNBC News Chopper 9 just put out the photo of it, but above Union Station, where all those white folding chairs were set up, police that had secured the scene after yesterday's shooting have used the folding chairs, and I'll retweet it, and you can also check out KNBC, but the chairs now spell out KC Strong. So they've laid out the chairs there in an overhead you can see, and it spells out KC Strong, which is, I think, very neat and obviously speaks to the support of the city today and how everybody's trying to hang together through a very, very tough time. And I saw one person on the text line says, "Get back to sports." Well, I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen today. We hope tomorrow to try to ease that back into that. But this is a reality, and there's some things like life and support that matter more than sports on days like today. And trust me, believe me, we would much rather be doing 4 hours on sports.
Yeah,
much rather.
I prefer to be your relief from
and
it.
I hope
today's
tomorrow,
not a great day to run away from it.
And I hope tomorrow we will be able to get back into some more sports and be more of a relief, because at some point that has to happen. It doesn't mean we forget, though, what occurred yesterday. And
less than 24 hours ago.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't even been. Yeah, it hasn't even been 24 hours. But 913-586-7610. And I'll text back here when we play our interviews. People asking for the chat line and the phone number for counseling. We'll make sure we respond to you. We'll give that back out on the air as well. But I do want to play a little bit of our conversation. Danon Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver, was there with the Chiefs ambassadors yesterday and kind of laid out where he was at and described the chaotic scene at Union Station.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on, guys. Terrible event. Obviously, yesterday marred what was leading up to the end of a great day for Kansas City, for Chiefs Kingdom, and it's so sad that we had to experience it, all that, and sad for the families that were truly affected. I got text messages from family friends of Miss Lopez Galvan, and before her name was even released. So I kind of knew a little bit about what was happening from that angle. But while we were there, we were actually right next to the stage, about to walk through Union Station. And as we were walking through Union Station to get back on the buses to Arrowhead Stadium, all we saw was a huge amount of law enforcement and, all security, and those people fly right past us, jumping the barricades and the gates, heading to what looked like, I believe it was like the west side of Union Station. And we just thought maybe there was just, kids acting up, or maybe a fight or something like that. And, you just saw everybody kind of flee that way. But then when we saw the officers with guns drawn trying to direct us down to the bottom underneath Union Station, we realized that it was more than just some kind of raucous event. We didn't hear anything. We got underneath Union Station. Like I said, there were hundreds, maybe 1,000 or so people, because those are how many people boarded the buses at Arrowhead Stadium to shuttle down there. So none of us knew anything. And then when we got underneath Union Station, we had very little to no cell phone service underneath. So we really couldn't get any updates. Some word passed through Deron Cherry to myself and Keith Cash, Sean Barber, Tim Barnett. Those are the former Chiefs that were down there. And that's where the word kind of came through. Jason Dunn was also there as well. We just tried to sort through it all and try to figure out how we were going to make it back to Arrowhead Stadium to get in our cars and get home. It definitely put a huge damper on the entire afternoon, and it's just a sad course of events.
When you're looking at what you think this means team-wise, Dane, I mean, you hear the stories of Trey Smith and Andy Reid. I mean, how hard is it going to be to feel like you'll be able to ever properly celebrate what occurred, knowing what happened after and the impact it's probably going to have on these players for a very long time? We saw all the tweets from them last night.
Yeah, I think it does put you in a perspective of wondering what the future holds. And not just from a player standpoint. I mean, those guys celebrated in the locker. I was in the locker room after the game. I was on the field after the game in Vegas. They celebrated all the way to Kansas City and up to the parade. You could tell that literally that they were celebrating up through the parade. So I don't know if their personal celebration of any future success in the Super Bowl, but their ability to have that same kind of joy with the fans. You know how close we are as a Chiefs community and the Chiefs kingdom, and a lot of the successes that the teams get, well, even with the Royals, when they had their World Series run, you knew it was more about the community. You knew it was more about the kingdom. And these guys look forward to not only celebrating with their teammates right after the clock hits zero, but they really, really strongly look forward to the abilities and the opportunities to celebrate with the kingdom. And now, who knows how that's going to be impacted in the future. This is a tight-knit community from the Hunt family for decades have conditioned us to value the fans and the kingdom in high esteem. And we've always looked forward to it. Even the guys that weren't on the stage yesterday, the Chiefs ambassadors were walking around signing autographs, taking pictures, interacting with the fans, high-fiving, singing, all that stuff. And it's not to bring any light to us. We've already had our time time in the spotlight. It was really just to be able to engage with the fans that we know make it so great for us to be a part of a great organization and a winning organization. So that's the thing that kind of, as the days unfold, it's not going to sit right with a lot of current players that there could be an impact of how they're embracing the community and how they're able to celebrate with the Chiefs Kingdom in the future.
We're talking to Dane and Hughes here on 610 Sports Radio. You can correct me if I misheard you. You started this conversation mentioning that either you or you had friends that knew the victim. the deceased?
Yeah. I had friends that knew. My daughter played volleyball with a teammate whose family was connected with them. So I received text messages pretty much as soon as I got to Arrowhead Stadium, got to my car, about who it was. I was reluctant to post it on social media. You probably see my first post on Twitter, and I just used the initials because I didn't want to be, I didn't want that to be like I was trying to scoop anything or anything like that. It was just about prayers and acknowledgement. But there's such a tight community here. You're always one or two people away from knowing somebody, and I got the message from those family friends pretty quickly.
Dana, and we've been asked this question. I think it'd be interesting from your perspective as someone who's been to these here a lot lately too, just the same as we have been. Would this give you any pause about going to an event like this again, knowing that I guess at least this is plausible? I wonder what this will do for Chiefs Kingdom as far as, let's say they win the Super Bowl next year. Will this deter people from wanting to go out?
Well, I would say that based on some of the sensitive responses from a lot of people on the news and on social media, it will definitely hinder people going out there. I can be honest, man. I'm angry. I got a group text with several Chiefs ambassadors. I know Keith Cash, Sean Barber, voiced Eric. We got a bunch of guys that have just voiced their anger with the situation. Bill Moss as well, Eric Hicks. I think we've transitioned into anger, man, because it pisses us off. And I'm sure we're not alone. I'm sure a lot of people at the radio station as well as the fans, because of how much it marred Kansas City, how much it marred the celebration. And obviously at the forefront of that is that it impacted families. And I don't want to make a light about that, but there's an anger that's going through me now and disappointment because of what now will not be the same. And if it's not right for one kid or one family in the future, if we go three-peat and do something that no other NFL team has done in the history of the NFL and win a third Super Bowl in a row, and there's that one family or that one supporter or that one kid who may not have an opportunity ever to get to a game and would have had a chance to be within 50 feet of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid in the celebration and get a picture or something like that. And now that one family won't go, won't experience it because of their fear. That pisses me off. And I think I'm speaking for the ambassadors as well. It's the same kind of sentiment. It's just getting under my skin more and more. I think about it as we're 24 hours away from, how it all unfolded, almost 24 hours away from it. I feel more anger now than I did at the time.
That was Danon Hughes with us, former Chiefs wide receiver, Chiefs ambassador, part of the Chiefs radio network. Earlier today, he joined us, and you heard him describe being under Union Station and what he had experienced. And then his last point there in the final minute or so of that cut from Danon, just mentioning, no matter what going forward, there will be, maybe not everybody's going to have to make their own personal decision in the future, whether they go to parades or not go to parades, and whether or not they take their kids or not. That's going to be an individual decision. But there will be some people that will feel like they can never go to an event like that. And that sucks. Plain and simple. That sucks. And that's why he said it should make you angry. And the same can be said for other venues. But this is this one in particular.
Like movie theaters or bars or restaurants.
And I've told you, look, you can't live in fear, but everybody's going to make their own decision. Right? But you can't live in fear, but add this venue, this event, Chiefs Parade, Super Bowl Championship Parade, to the list, unfortunately, of venues that you thought, all right, there's a little amount of security. It's a joyous day in the city. Certainly, this is not going to happen at this kind of place. And unfortunately, we can no longer say that. We'll never be able to say that it can't happen at a celebratory day in your city for your Super Bowl champion Chiefs, or if you're someone that lives in another city. I mean, it's not Kansas City's been a lot of parades here recently, right? But we know these parades take place in all these other cities too when they win championships.
Yeah, everyone will have to reevaluate as a city how exactly they're going to do it. Again, and if you missed it earlier, Kansas City Police Department earlier today updated, said there were 23 total victims. Children's Mercy expected to give an update at 2 o'clock. Of those 23 victims, currently the police department is still saying it is just one deceased. Yeah. The KKFI DJ, who we've at least the only name we've seen released to this, that's what they're still saying at the moment, and that 3 suspects are in custody, 2 of which are juveniles, and that we know they've got 24 hours to work through the processing system and either charge or release those suspects. Now, look, it's 24 hours after they were put into the system. That could be sometime in the next couple of hours. I'd be surprised if you didn't hear somewhere later today whether or not they had been charged or not. I also be surprised if they didn't get charged. These processes typically just kind of take time.
And again, it goes without saying, our thoughts and prayers with all the victims of this. And you mentioned Lisa Lopez, the radio host, that lost her life in this. And at this point, I know there were some reports at one point yesterday, and maybe some confusion that there were 2 dead. It still has just been one individual, according to the police, which is who we'll base it off of, obviously. And that unfortunately is Lisa Lopez. So just terrible. And Danon, you heard Danon talking about at the beginning of that interview that he had some text messages and some connection to her and to her family. Just awful. Absolutely horrific. I believe mother of 2. I mean, come on. It's awful. Absolutely awful to think about. And the fact that there's still children also in the hospital right now. And hopefully we get some good news at 2 o'clock that more and more are getting released. But yeah, it should make everybody angry, and it's sickening to think about that.
Can I jump in here for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead, Q.
So I've taken a lot of phone calls today, some of them who've gotten on the air, some of them who haven't. And one of the things that I've noticed is that there's so many people that when there was an opportunity to just come on here and spout, they wanted to focus on all the people that they helped or who helped them. We had a mother of 5, I believe. She came on and she talked about how there were 3 different people that when they had a chance to just go their own way, all they did was help her. They picked up her kid. They picked up her stroller off the ground. They helped her and her kids get away. So I know it's easy to sit here and just doom and gloom on everything, but there were so many good things that happened. There were so many opportunities for people to show who they truly are, and they did that. And we will not know most of the things that happened on that. We will never know how many people stepped up when they weren't asked to. And I just wanted to say that.
No, well said. And yeah, there are continuing to be some incredible acts of kindness in some regard, and obviously heroes coming out of the events of yesterday. And I think you're right, Q. Some we will never know, but we will probably also learn more. We already played you the first-hand account from Trey Smith of the Chiefs and some other teammates. I would imagine as time goes on, maybe one day we'll hear from Andy Reid on his experience and the account from at least one fan about what he did. But it's not even just Chiefs players. We've heard it from just your everyday Kansas Cityan who stepped up, whether it was as far as caller Tony yesterday on the drive, who literally tackled one of the alleged suspects and chased after him. My goodness. Or it's just little acts of kindness, as little as last night. The story of there was a fast food manager of a fast food restaurant here in town that brought a bunch of sandwiches to police officers that were still working the scene, to make sure they had an opportunity. They've been out there all day, make sure they have an opportunity to eat. There's so many stories like that, and that's why Kansas City, I think it's fitting that I mentioned the News Chopper 9 photo they put out, that the folding chairs that were there at the rally have now been put in a formation that reads KC Strong, and that's you're going to probably hear a lot more about that going forward.
I would assume so. People tend to rally, but I'm with Danon. I mean, I assume in a day or two I'll shake the feeling of anger, but that's the one that still presides the most currently, because a lot of it is just like, and I honestly, some like the get back to sports. No, you can't make me, or don't talk about the things you want to talk about. Sorry, that's just not going to be the case. This was a completely avoidable thing. It's been avoidable for decades in pretty much every other country in the world but this one. And so this is not an isolated incident. I understand the notion like, well, this isn't Kansas City. Well, Kansas City is a lot of things. It's a complex organism. This is also part of this country's history. It's also been a part of this city's history lately because of the violence that's been taking place. It's not just one or no things all at once. And so it feels so controllable in the sense that everybody knows some of the things that can be done to solve part of this issue, and we just ignore it. And we just get used to it, and we just let it wash over us in a cloud of happy, like, oh, you know what? We'll get, it'll be fine the next day until the next one happens. And that's what will truly make you forget about this one, the next one.
It's a terrible cycle. Like what you're describing is this cycle. We all know what it is. The cycle that is. I don't think there is just one solution. I don't claim to think there is. There are multiple things that is a much different, deeper conversation to be had on a variety of issues. Because as you said, it yesterday gets highlighted because of what it was at a Chiefs Super Bowl parade, and 1 million people were around, and it's the national story and all that. But there are daily occurrences of, if it turns out to be what the police are saying, for sure, which is a dispute among, in this case, also juveniles, that resulted in pulling out a gun and shooting individuals that then caused others nearby with no regard for anybody else's life, which that stuff that happens on a daily basis, And what happens from here, even at a local level with future big-time events, we'll see. The mayor, as we've mentioned a few times today, was asked about other parades and things like that, and the NFL is going to look into, is this the best path forward? I told you, again, you can't live in fear, but also doesn't mean you shouldn't look into solutions and making sure that parades can go on without any incidents. And we had 3 of them without any incidents. This one is one too many. And does that mean that future parades need to be at stadiums with more security? I don't know if that's a solution, but it's going to be part of the conversation that people are going to have. Appreciate those of you, I should say, that called in today. Mackenzie Nelson, Jackson Kurtz, Nate Taylor, Danon Hughes. Also those of you that just listen to the show and expressing your thoughts. We'll be back at it tomorrow. We'll try to mix in a little more sports tomorrow on the show. But more coverage continues here on 610 Sports Radio with The Drive next.